All right, welcome to Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. My name is Tony Vicinda. We are live here on Plus One EXP. We're a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard and skincare alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation. And even though the rest of my party can't hear me right now, I can tell by the looks on their face, everybody else can. So I'm going to fix that real quick for y'all. For whatever dumb reason, Google Meet likes to drop my input even though the stream can still hear it, so everybody else could just hear me talking besides y'all. So I just welcomed everybody here. We've got to figure out that problem at some point. One of the main ways we do that is by sitting down. Wait. No, I skipped a line. Our desire is to help amazing players find great designers whose games they can love, and help amazing designers find great players who can love their games. We do that in a lot of different ways, but one of the main ways we do it is just by sitting down with the designers or the design team of a game and playing it with them, and then getting the chance to sit around and talk about it and ask them questions. Today we are playing SeasofSand, which is an OSR toolkit that is live right now on Kickstarter. The link I'll drop in the chat in just a little bit, but if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, it's in the description. If you're watching on Twitch, I'll drop it to you in just 1 second. Or if you point straight down below you, it is right there also too. You can go to that link, it'll take you right there. To find out a little bit more about SeasofSand, let's go over to Sam Sorensen, the creator. Sam, tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online, but also tell us a little about SeasofSand.
Hello, my name is Sam Sorensen. The main place you can find me is on Twitter, @headofthegoat, all one word. And yeah, I made SeasofSand, as much as anyone can really make anything in this industry. Seas is an old school toolbox about a vast ocean of liquid sand. So what that means is that you play pirates and explorers and merchants sailing across the dunes of a desert. During the day, this desert is liquid. If you step into the sand, you'll sink. At night, the sand's cool and hardened. Ships freeze in place, but you can walk across it. Out in the desert, you'll find hopefully wealth and adventure, but also possibly horrible monsters, strange phenomena, divinity, all manner of mysteries and wonders, all sorts of strange things hidden amongst the endless dunes.
Awesome. Well, I am super excited to play. Let's meet the rest of our players today. Let's start with Stream Regular, one of my favorite people to have on with us, and that is Alex. Alex, tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online, and yeah, all those things.
Hi, my name is Alex Kingsley. I am a writer, comedian, game designer, all those fun things. I mostly work with Strong Branch Productions, which is a production company that does games and podcasts. We have a podcast out called The Stench of Adventure. It's a sci-fi comedy. It's a fun time. And I'm at AlexyQuest pretty much everywhere on the internet. Twitter, TikTok, Tumblr, what have you. That's me.
I didn't know you had a TikTok. I'm gonna have to get on that.
I do have a TikTok.
I only watch TikTok at night when my wife's like, do you want to watch a bunch of TikToks that I've sent you and you haven't watched yet? But I do have an account and I do follow people on it.
My TikTok, I warn you, it's very embarrassing, but I kind of embarrass myself I do comedy, so that's just like kind of what I do. So I just have to preface it with that. But like I still put it out there for people to see.
Now I'm even more excited. Let's meet next somebody whose work I've been a fan of since this last Zine Quest, and that's Dom. Dom, tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online, and all the good things.
That's very kind of you, first of all. But yeah, I'm Dom Leotti. I have done a couple of things for Zine Quests, first being Kishu 2 years ago, and Power Words engine this time around, just coming out soon. You can find me on Twitter if you really want to, at Dom Leotti. I think it's somewhere in the UI. But yeah, that's me. Been playtesting this game for a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm very glad to see it come to the people.
I saw Power Words and was like, I found Dom's Twitter and I was like, Dom, I have to play this as a game, not just as an add-on to another game. So if you haven't checked out Power Words, please go check it out. Then last, joined us for the first time also too, but also my first time to get to meet them is Walid. Walid, tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online.
Awesome. I'm happy to be here. My name is Walid Roda. I'm a graduate student. I study game design. I make video games as well as role-playing games. I pivoted from education, so I used to be a teacher, and now I do mostly game design work. You can find my work at my website, wroda.com, which is just the first letter of my first name and then my last name on the screen. Check it out, play my games, and I'm super excited to get started.
Awesome. We always use safety tools here on the channel. Sometimes they're dictated by the system, but if they're not, we just use lines, veils, and the X card. Lines are things that may happen in the world of our game, but don't happen in the course of our game. They're things that are off limits. Veils are things that we may come up in the course of the game, but we handle them delicately, handle them in a certain way. We check in with people as we do them. And then the X card is the ability for anyone at any time to say X or type in X or message X to the GM to have the game be paused. We only stop enough to identify what the specific issue is, but there's no explanation needed for why it bothers the person, and then we move forward in a different direction without that. It could be the name of a character. It could be because you're not quite clear on what's happening. It could because you're upset about a certain piece of content matter, but it's just a way to help control the flow of game and make sure that everybody's able to deeply engage in the play. And so with that said, the only line that we always have is a strong line against sexual violence. Everything else we like to normalize the conversation around. So does anybody else have any lines or veils that they want to add to our play today?
I've got a couple of veils.
Okay.
I will veil on any like graphic depictions of torture, as well as like graphic violence against children or small cute animals.
Big ugly animals, totally fine. Small,
Yeah,
cute
those
animals.
ones. It's fine.
Awesome. Anyone else want to add any more? Alex?
I generally like to have veil against like explicit sexual content in general. Just like avoid it if possible.
Sounds good. Also, remember, those are living concepts. So if we pause and say X on something, or if you just want to pause and say, hey, can we put a line on that or a veil on that, you can always do that even in the middle of play, even if we didn't establish it at the beginning. With that said, that's all the things. Again, I want to encourage people to go, if you have not yet, check out the Kickstarter. It's right down below, so you can go right now because it'll open up in a new window, or you can wait till the end of the stream. But I'm going to hand things over to Sam to take us into the Seas of Sand.
Great, thank you. So we're going to play a slightly abbreviated, slightly smoothed over, sort of quick little run in Seas. Ordinarily, there'd be more process here of hiring crew and bringing on cargo and things. But let me tell you this. You are the leading crew of a ship called the Vulture. Vulture is, of course, probably a 100% legal merchant vessel. It's a dhow, sort of a mid-range common ship, currently based out of Kadad. So if you look at our map, right in the center of the map on this kind of large island next to the fractured quarter in the Brineland is Kadad, the mother of Kadad, this sort of like large ancient city that's been here for 1,000 years and longer. Currently, through fate or fortune, your hold is filled with liquor. Currently, you have two bulk, basically like 200 gallons worth of rum and 200 gallons worth of tequila, plus enough food and water to get you to basically most places in the seas. The decision that immediately lies before you, and we'll do character introductions, but it's worth thinking about this the entire time, is if you look at this the two cities here, in Constantinople, if you take the central circuit down through the Grapevine, you stand to make a lot more money. Liquor is worth a lot more there because it's illegal. Constantinople is famous for its wine, and thus they disallow the import of liquor into their cities. So smuggling it in would present a lot of value to you if you were so inclined to such devious behavior. Or you could take the safer route and take it to Bir Sad, where liquor is perfectly legal, but you stand to make a lot less money. So it's worth thinking about whether you want to lean into piracy or away from it. And of course, if that sounds very boring, you can just sail the trade routes and attack the first ship you see and be pirates. That's always fine too. So right now, why don't we do brief character introductions of tell us who your character is, what they look like, what their vibe is, and then like what role you fill on the ship in general. Dom, I know who you're playing. Why don't you go first?
Sure. Yeah, so the individual who you know as Thus is the ship's cantor. He is an extremely old person. If he's asked about his age, he's very cagey about it. Kind of hard to pin down what that could possibly be. He's just a hunched, sort of ragged-looking individual, just a rasping voice, sand-pocked skin, with a peg leg that is carved in the shape of an eagle claw. Yeah, he wears a scarlet headscarf and has a tattoo that starts somewhere below the neckline and extends up over his face and ends at the top. It's a lighthouse, and the light is positioned in the center of his forehead. Very weird guy. He doesn't take payment in skins. He takes payment in favors from people on the ship. Um,
And so, Thuce, you're the Cantor. The Cantor is a ship's magician, I should clarify. Are you also the helm? You helmsman?
yeah.
Great.
You'll see Thuce drive,
Yeah.
probably.
Walid, why don't you go next?
Awesome. My name is Dark. I'm a late 20s Zouave, is a little soldier man wearing his old father's uniform. Dark is a passionate young mercenary for hire. He is always looking for the next fight, the next gig, the next way to make a couple of skins of water. He's currently joined this crew as a hand, someone to help around the ship, but also to be the first line of defense against any sort of piracy or any sort of wrongdoing. If we end up doing that route, any sort of engagement, he's at the front and center. He's again wearing those kind of like leather garb, his old father's kind of a war vest. He's wearing his ring sword on one hand and maybe a cask of ale on the other.
Great. And you just said you're a hand, right? So you're just
Yep.
a regular old individual board. Great. Alex, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm playing a dune rider, so a guy who surfs the dunes. His name, the name he would like to go by, is Sandpiper, because he rides the sand like a half pipe. I don't know if half pipes exist in this world, but it's actually the reason I probably not, but he came up with it himself. The reason I picked this name is actually because it came to me in a dream, so I have to go with it. But he was born Gregory Tomlinson, but only his mom. He's 15 and a half years old, almost 16. He just really wanted to get into the piracy game because his mom is a thief. So he really wanted to like get into that too. He wanted to get some tattoos to look really cool, but he's like, sand is life, man. So he got a bunch of tattoos of sand and no one can see them because it's just sand. So he's really angry when no one can see his tattoos. And I think, so I didn't know what other people's roles in the crew were going to be, so I didn't pick one in advance. So if I can say this now, I think he totally would have. He just wanted to get onto a crew, so he totally lied. I think he's the surgeon.
Great, perfect.
With absolutely no experiance whatsoever.
Great.
He just wants to carve some dune, so he told him he could carve some flesh. And so,
exactly. He's like, I'm all about carving it up, even if it is your kidney.
Great. And Tony, last but not least.
Yeah. So I'm playing as Slide Swiftwind. Slide, talks a lot about the tattoos that they have, but it seems like they're different tattoos all the time. And lo and behold, as they show people different tattoos, next week there'll be a totally bizarrely different tattoo in that same spot, just depending on whatever story Swift seems to be telling at the time. I think that it's very unclear what / if any job Slide has on the ship. It's really Slide really shines when everybody gets to down and it's time to sell things. Like on the ship, he may help out with things, not very enthusiastically, but when we get to town, that's when Slide goes to work helping sell the goods.
Slide, are you quartermaster, quote unquote?
I think quartermaster is what I tell everybody I am.
Got it.
But I'm always just I'm sorry, we're out. Unless if it's not right there, I'm I'm sorry, we'll have to pick up some more. We're a little light on coins, so if you have a little bit you want to put towards that, let me know. I'll hold on to it for you.
Great. And then, of course, you have a couple of NPCs aboard. One of their names is Najun. She's an old weathered sea hand. And the other one, her name is Layla. So you have these two NPCs. They're hands. They're just there to help you sail. The important question right now to decide is which of you four is captain of the Vulture?
One of us is captain.
One of you must be captain. So at an extremely mechanical level, crew morale is affected by your charisma modifier, but more importantly, you should pick the captain based on who actually wants or feels, or the rest of the crew feels should be captain.
I don't know how anybody felt about it before, but I'm happy. I'm happy to tell a story about why I would make an excellent captain to everybody, and all of my previous captaining exploits. in order to make that a reality.
I absolutely believe that story.
Great. What is?
Yeah.
Can we hear this story?
Yeah, what's the story?
Well, I mean, which one? There are so many stories of how I've been a great captain over the years. I mean, which ship do you want to know about? Do you want to know about, the first sand skiff that I rolled across the dunes, or do you want to know about the time I led the Great Armada in the in the glass wars of time that would make sense given the setting?
Yeah.
That one was a real. I mean, like, it was, Admiral might be a better term for what I did during that one. 20 ships facing off against 50 ships. No one thought we had a chance. They weren't called the Glass Wars until that adventure. It's because we set the entire desert aflame, causing whatever type of glass sand turns to glass, if any of them do.
They all do, yes.
Okay, then to turn to glass. Yes, I know a lot about sand.
Yeah.
And sailing. I know a lot about sailing also too, obviously, from my great experience. I wasn't in charge of the ship at the beginning of that. I was just a cabin boy, but enough people died that it was me at the end, with the captain / admiral epaulets on my shoulders, calling the shots.
Of course. Great.
Wow.
So we have Captain Slide. Perfect. So, like I said, right now you have enough food and water to make it most places. You got 200 skins. There's 6 people in this boat, so you can do the math on that. That's more than a month of sailing. That's enough to get you almost anywhere. So the question is,
because just for those watching, skins are a gallon of water for the day, but also the monetary measurement by which this world operates.
Yep.
That did confuse me at first when I was reading the rules, because I didn't read that clarification part, and I was like, we trade skin?
Yes. Water skins.
What game did I sign up for? And so,
I was like, okay, cool.
There is fiat currency, which is backed by water, right, Sam?
Yes, there is fiat currency backed by water. So you can trade regular coins as well, which basically all cities will accept. So the question is right now, here you are in Unkadad, if you look at our map, the amazing map that Jason made, that I think is still in progress as I look at this, but that's fine. So you're heading south. You're looking towards either Birsad, further to the east, near the barrier brink, or down by the winemaker's run to Kasr Nabal. As I mentioned, in Kasr Nabal, liquor is illegal, so you'd be smuggling it in. It'd be a more dangerous operation, but you stand to make a lot more money. Alternatively, you could go to Birsad, where it's much safer, but you would make far less coin.
What part of the map am I on so that I can show viewers?
This is the main preview map from the Kickstarter. This is yeah. So the section, if you look, Unkadad, where you are right now, is right in the center. It's a major city.
3C, about
halfway
up on the left side of that square.
I actually think you passed it up. There it is.
I don't know. All right, we're somewhere on this map, everybody. This is a beautiful map. Check it out.
And then
All right,
if you follow the trade route south, they split. One goes more eastwards towards Birsad, and one goes more westwards towards Kasr Nabal.
I found it.
Yeah, great. It's all up to you. Ostensibly, it's up to the captain, but in practice, it's probably up to the important members of the crew to decide which way you're going, and thus, do you want the safer, less profitable route, or the riskier, more profitable route towards Kasr Nabal?
Derek will approach Slide with his chest puffed out, seeing as he's also a warrior in combat. Will go up and say, Captain Slide, I don't know about you, but making money and fighting along the way sounds like the only option to me.
Let's go nuts, Sandpiper says from where he's been hiding, listening to this conversation.
Like pops out of a barrel.
Yeah, exactly.
Full sandboard, like next to you from this very.
He's always hugging it.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly wouldn't be the first time I've ever committed piracy and fought to make money at the same time. I've done it a ton of times. I'm totally comfortable with that, 100%.
Good, because there's going to be a lot of killing.
Oh, wow.
I've been out here a long time.
You're so cool. I've actually never pirated before. This would be my first time pirating. So this is going to be so cool.
Yeah, I remember my first time of all the dozens of times, probably more like scores, probably something like in the hundreds or thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of times that I've done this. So it's great.
My favorite part of your stories is that they keep changing.
Great. So it sounds like you're bound for Castelnabel to do some smuggling. The next kind of immediate question is, as you're leaving Umkabad, customs officers check off your manifest, everything looks fine to them, of course, everything totally legal. Do you want to take the main trade route, which takes you through the descent between the Demon's Gate and the Painted Valley down along the central circuit? Or do you want to strike out away from the trade routes into the vaster desert, which would probably involve going through Hell's Throne and the Alkali Quarter? If you stay on the trade routes, you are more likely to encounter ships or otherwise sort of more innocuous things in the seas. As you get further out into the sands, your chance of encountering ships and like sort of less important encounters reduces, but the chance of encountering giant strange monsters and bizarre phenomena increase. So you could stick on the trade route, or you could try to make a faster, separate route by yourself out in the seas. Does this make sense? Can you see on the map what I'm talking about here? Great.
I think so.
It makes sense either. It makes sense definitely as you explain it, and as I try to take in all. So the map is a topographic map. It also kind of outlines the different types of sand we might be going through. Correct?
Yes.
Which I deeply love. And
oh yeah, so I can explain just a little bit of that. Sorry, I'm forgetting that I'm playing with newbies. So Umkadad is built on salt sand, one of the most common kinds. The three most common ones are sugar, salt, and silk sand. Silk is this sort of like burnt orange color in the dust barrens. The brineland and the sort of pale is sugar sand or salt sand, excuse me. And then this pale yellow up here in the Sacrament Gulf is sugar. All three are fairly common. They behave somewhat normally. Red sand is Vulcan sand, which is explosive. There's dark brown sand is kiln sand, which is like mostly solid earth. Dark gray sand is bone sand, which is cursed and haunted. And then purple sand is king sand, which does not solidify at night. Meaning if you were to take those routes, you could theoretically double your pace on them because you can keep sailing through the night.
Because all the different types of sands have different melting points and other stuff that is all documented in this setting and is very cool, and they all behave in different ways. And you should go check it out. I mean, I'm all about. I mean, I've traveled these sands so many times. We don't have to stick to the main route if we don't want to.
What sand did you say was? Which color is the sand that's haunted?
Haunted is the dark gray, the bone sand. If you look near the Undercroft or the Barrow Dunes or the Dead Flats, it's that dark gray.
Ooh. Okay.
Also, people very quickly, when Alex was introducing their character, got very excited. And Ty Eldritch Mouse has said, if anything happens to Sandpiper, they will riot, by the way. So we already have a stream favorite.
Thank you. I appreciate your love for Sandpiper. I love him too.
No, I mean, from a totally meta level, because it's OSR, and we just talk about it as players. I love the idea of seeing weird things that are in the sand, and then having to fight pirates when we come into port potentially. From what we've laid out so far, how does everybody else feel about that?
I want to see some haunted sand.
Cool,
great.
Yeah.
So
Who really recommends cutting all the way across the entirety of Hell's Throne, which, if anyone is actually a sailor of the seas, would know is an extremely bad idea.
My two playtesters, you can tell them Vulcan Sand is... Dylan, what was your experience with Vulcan Sand? What was the last time you guys sailed?
Vulcan Sand, I believe, there was an explosion.
It's true, there were explosions. So Vulcan Sand, just to clarify, on contact with water, explodes. So if anything spills off the side of your ship, if you dump an exceptionally bloody body over the side of your ship, if you encounter any monsters that deal with water, you were looking to have large fireballs conflagrating rapidly.
Cool. Yeah.
But it is much faster.
And I can tell you a story about the time I had to lob a water bottle at a thing to blow it up, but we don't have time for that right now. We got to get sailing.
Okay. So do you want to take the riskiest route through Hell's Throne, through that giant patch?
Okay, yes, then we do. Yeah, absolutely,
okay.
apparently.
Yeah.
Great.
Whatever type of sand Sandpiper wants to pipe on, that's what we want to take.
Yeah, Sandpiper wants to see some explosive sand. And he goes, let's get sandy, because that's his catchphrase, apparently.
Great.
Oh, no.
Okay, great. So the way the basic procedure day-to-day here works is every day that you are at sea, I will ask you for a weather roll and an encounter roll, both of which are D100s. Initially, when you're close to the city, close to the trade routes, that encounter roll is a disadvantage, meaning you roll twice and take the lowest, which is good, because lower rolls tend to mean like ships or like messages in bottles or just like generally safer less dangerous things, and then higher rolls are more like giant crazy monsters that will, you know, eat your brains and slurp your soul and things. So right now, as you leave Kadad, you pull away from the ringed city and its lighthouses and its ancient altars. From one of you, it sounds like Dom is already clattering your dice around.
I actually was thinking it probably definitely shouldn't be me.
Okay.
Because I have a track record with these rolls.
Okay.
I have easily
That makes me
accessible.
think it should be you.
Yeah, I feel like with that.
I'll do one, and
say
Tom can
that.
do the other one.
Great. So Tony, you want to roll weather for us?
Yeah, I got an 85 on weather.
85. That is a nice toasty day. So generally higher rolls are warmer temperatures, lower temperatures. So 85 means that the peak today is going to be about 115 degrees Fahrenheit. So that means you will be sizzling on your ship. Yeah.
So this is a disadvantage, right?
You are taking the lower of 2 rolls. Yeah.
That's great. A 31 for the encounter.
31. Okay, great. So as you set sail out into the salt sands, and immediately, I mean, you can taste it in the cities, but out here it's especially strong. If you just lick the air, there's sort of a latent salty taste. It gets under your nails, it gets into your eyes, it gets in your ears, it gets in your hair. Is this sort of like omnipresent, fine, gritty, crumbly, salty sand. Out here on the dunes, the liquid texture of salt sand is very like crunchy and flaky and brittle. There's this low kind of constant crackling rumble as your ship cuts through it. The dunes, as they go up and down, are jagged and angular, prone to sort of small cliffs, almost like more like an ice sheet than anything proper. Although they crumble almost instantly as you touch them, because again, it's daytime and they're liquid, especially on such a hot day. But as you travel, I mean, the omnipresent salt taste becomes just sort of a moment-to-moment beat of existence. There's some sailors who think they'll sail fine and they hit some kind of sand and they can't deal with the omnipresent taste, and so they just have to go back on land like the lovers that they are. So as you travel out here, with a 31, you said, for the encounters?
Yes.
Interesting. Let's take a gander what that would be. 31. Huh, interesting. Okay. Okay. I'm rolling on my own subtables, many of which are deep in development. So as you are sailing along, you know, initially there are many ships around, fishing vessels, other traders and things. But as you diverge, probably around mid-afternoon, probably 2, 3 p.m. in the afternoon, when you pull away from the trade route, you can see a couple of those ships sort of like swing southwards, but you start heading a little bit more westwards than the other one to take through the Hell's Throne, which is dangerous. You can see up ahead of you, jutting up out of the sand, is like a low rocky outcropping with something glinting on it.
How long is this Sandpiper's first trip out with us?
Probably first like big trip,
Okay.
I would say. Maybe we've done like little things, but this is his first like big adventure. Other than this, he's just kind of been like surfing around the Kadad area. But this is all new and exciting.
Do we use you as like a scout a lot of time in
Probably
situations
yes.
like this?
Yes.
Is that why we were like, yeah, sure, surgeon, yeah, carve it up.
Yeah,
You can ride that thing,
I don't
right?
think he was fooling anyone there.
Do you want to go check it out?
Yeah.
How
Great.
far away are we from?
From the outcropping, a few hundred feet, not far.
And we're not on the Vulcan sand yet.
You are not on the
correct?
Vulcan sand. You are still in
Okay.
salt. It'll take you at least until you won't see the Vulcan until tomorrow.
Great. Great.
Yeah, go check it out.
I'm gonna go look at that shiny thing.
Great.
See you later,
So-
gang.
So imagine you like a sick like leap overboard with
Yeah,
like your board in one hand.
Exactly.
Great,
He just
great.
kind of like does a little flip.
Yeah. So as you surf out there, you know, propelled by your own inertia and subtle wind magic that dune riders harness, as you approach this sort of stony outcropping, I mean, it's really little more than a rock. It's maybe only 20, 30 feet across. And as you clamber atop it, you can see now the glinting shininess that you saw were several coins and a dagger, all of which lie amidst a bleach, dried, salt-covered skeleton lying here with bits of leather flapping on its bones.
Okay, cool. Well, first I'm gonna say sick, and then pick up all the coins and
Great.
the dagger. And then I just want to take a look at the skeleton, see if I could see anything else about who this person was.
Yeah.
Is there any identifying?
As you sort of like scan, you know, poke around and nudge it with your toe a little bit, the only thing that catches your attention is you can see now underneath part of some of its ribs that as you shuffle aside, you can see there are a series of tally marks scratched into the rock. You can see there's a huge, there are only two of them actually. I say series. It's really just two vertical lines.
Two vertical lines etched into the rock. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sandpiper's gonna look at that and say, "That's weird," and then pick a bone. Maybe let's go with let's go with the rib. I feel like a skull would be a little unwieldy, but he's gonna go with the rib. Just because it's cool. He's never seen human bones before. Or would he have seen bones?
I mean, you've seen teeth, right?
He doesn't know what teeth are. Don't tell him.
Okay, great. Perfect.
He doesn't know. No, it would be a little weird for the surgeon to have never seen bones, but you know.
Yeah, the surgeon kept on telling us, yeah, as long as there's no bone stuff involved, I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm a surgeon, but here's the thing. Don't break a bone. He goes back and he does his little flip. He does the exact same flip, but backwards, back onto the ship, and says, "Hey guys, I got money and I got this cool knife," and he's gonna wave it around.
Whoa. Cool knife. Whoa.
Yeah, look at this. Yeah.
I'll grab
the
knife.
It?
Oh yeah. Can I? So I've in my adventures as a mercenary, I've at one point was hired to clean up some corpses, and so thus mechanically I can smell human corpses from about 200 feet away. If I and in the in the time that Sandpiper was sailing, I want to sit back and smell. Is there anything fresh nearby, like on the ground? Or there?
No. These bones are old. They've been rotting here for years at least.
Oh, but perfect then. Looks like we got a perfectly good knife and some coins.
And this bone.
Sure.
That's a bone from the dead guy?
Yep.
Who died at sea?
Yeah.
That's very, very, very bad luck.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, very, very bad luck.
Do you want me to put it back?
Well, I mean, it depends. Do you have a problem with bad luck?
I mean, not really. I really like bones. It looks cool. It's probably fine.
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't bother you, then it doesn't bother me.
I mean, you're already cursed.
I am.
I mean, I mean, you can put it back, but you've already incurred the curse.
Oh,
your NPC sailors in the background, Najun and Layla, both nod sagely.
Oh, the curse. Yeah, cool. I know all about curses. All right. Well, I guess I'll just keep it then. Okay.
Great.
Pretty sure Slide has a story where he beat up a curse, so I'm pretty sure.
You must know all about curses.
I've broken so many curses. I could spend hours telling you about just one of them, but we don't have time for that.
So you can help me out with this whenever the curse,
Yeah, whenever we have some time, we can get that curse broken.
You'll help me out, right?
Yeah. I am going to need you to stay in the back of the boat, though, while I'll stay in the front of the boat.
Yeah, cool.
Do you want me to put those coins in secure storage for you?
Yeah, sure. I trust you. Take the coins.
Derek will shake his head.
Great. As you continue sailing onwards, leaving behind this strange skeleton and their two tally marks on the rock, out here among the translucent dunes, the salt sand, keep sailing for the rest of the evening. As you near 8 o'clock, when the sand begins to harden at dusk, you can see drifting along, coming close to you, is a message in a bottle. This is a ubiquitous form of desert mail. It's somewhat unreliable, but generally if you just send a message to somebody and you're at sea, the way you do it is you take a bottle, which are very cheap because glass is cheap here. You cram something inside of it and then you pitch it overboard and hope that it makes it to whoever you're going to. These are all over the sands. They contain a variety of messages inside. There's no telling what a message in a bottle will have when you open it up.
Deuce reaches over the side. First he pops his peg leg off of his thigh, reaches over the side of the boat, hooks the eagle claw around the bottle and pulls it up.
Great.
Thump.
Yes, you thunk, uncork it. Inside is a very old weather piece of parchment. As you unfurl it, let me see what this one says in particular. This one. Okay, this one may be familiar to some of my old playtesters. It says, "Are you in need of a refreshing drink or a tasty snack? Come to Oom's House of Limes in Casa Novel. Best limes around. Any bearer of this coupon gets 50% off one lime of their choice."
Anybody need limes?
I do love a
I don't
good
get
lime.
scurvy, so here, take
That's
this.
cool. I can't possibly be cursed. Look at this good luck. We're gonna get a free lime. This is amazing. This is
Whoa,
a great
whoa,
deal.
whoa, whoa.
Well,
It's
Free
50%
lime,
off.
50% off
Right.
lime. I mean, you know,
This is a steal.
I mean, you probably don't want to be eating these limes. is not known for good limes. If the limes were good, he wouldn't have to do 50% off deals.
Okay, bad limes. Got it.
I mean,
got it,
yeah,
got it.
generally
I
when you get
learned
above a 30% discount, like you're cutting into your margins. And that, oh man, I can tell you about some times I've cut into the margins, but I won't. We should keep on
Yeah.
going.
Right.
that. Oh, classic Captain Slide.
Eldritch Mouse says, "What's the rate of success with that mail system?" Pretty high, I think. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's likely to get found by somebody. The
They always get
Zeromancer,
where they're supposed to go.
eventually, yeah. The Zeromancer, the Desert Mage that Dom is currently playing, one of their like passive abilities that when they send messages in a bottle, it is guaranteed to get there inside 100 days. You roll a d100, and that's how long it takes to get there, but it is guaranteed inside 3 months.
And that's high speed.
That is high
mails,
speed for
yeah,
Desert Mail, yes.
In different desert mails. Just so everybody, like the success rate is high.
Yeah.
The amount of time you wait for that success varies
Mhm.
dramatically.
Yes.
So, are there Zeromancers who have like their own like postal business? Like you could sell, like you could.
I don't think
pay
any
a
Zeromancer would
Zeromancer.
steep to that level, but in theory, yes. There are also
Okay.
desert post offices, which are just big blocks that they put out in the sand that are just covered in messages in the bottle, and you can look for ones that you leave. Sort of like a lending
Oh,
library,
cool.
take one, leave one.
I'm sure there are some rakes who have like not told Zeromancers what are going on, who have hired them to just toss bottles into the
Yeah,
water for them.
Oh, yeah. Great. So as you keep sailing through the salt, is there anything else you want to do in this last evening before the sand cools and hardens? Or are we good to move on to tomorrow?
Oh, you know, I meant to ask you this on our interview, and I totally
Yeah.
forgot. What happens to all the animals at night when the sand gets hard?
Yes. So good question. So when the sand cools and hardens, generally speaking, the sand gets hotter the further down you go. Convection currents mean that the top layer that you see is always the coolest. And so while the top layer will crust over and turn hard, it's a gradient downwards.
They
And so
just
once you
move
get
down. Gotcha.
yeah, 10, 20, 30 feet down, it means that it's still liquid down there. So all of the like purely sand breathing, the Samitic creatures, they dive for the nights. Anything that breathes air usually comes up on top. Sometimes you can actually see like beached whales and dolphins sitting on top of the sand for the evening before they have to go back down again.
Just chilling. And
Yeah.
I do not have anything I want to do on the day before we camp for the night.
Okay, so as the sand cools and hardens, you can hear the crackling and shifting of it as it all sets in place. Your ship holds. You pass an evening on board your ship and below decks in your hammocks. At this point, you're officially off the trade routes. So that means for the next little while, you are no longer disadvantaged on your encounter rolls. You're just rolling a flat D100. As you get way out there, we will start rolling with advantage, so you're more likely to find strange, mysterious, uncertain beings. As dawn rises and you set sail once more, can I get a weather roll and an encounter roll for today, please?
Alex, do you want to roll that weather roll?
Yeah, and I can do the encounter.
Was
It's a D100.
D100?
Yes.
I do not have a physical D100.
Do you
so
have
I-
do you have percentile dice? So the tens one and the 10. That's what you roll both of them at the same time. That'll give you 100. Like you're learning a new
Yes.
thing about dice right now. I love it.
yes.
I feel like this is not the first time I've learned this on stream and I forgot. Because now that you're saying it, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like there are people who play Dungeons and Dragons or any game that uses percentile dice as a rare option for probably like decades, and then they're like, like.
I was just feeling so out of the loop because I literally thought everyone else had physical D100s.
No,
and I
we
was
do not
like-
have spears.
I was like, oh my god, I don't have that.
That was the first super random dice I ever bought, but yeah, I don't have one anymore because they're not functionally useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't that make sense? So I was gonna be like, this is embarrassing that I don't have one. That's an 85 again.
Great. It's
Wow.
another really toasty day. Nice.
We
And
got
then
a
what was
60 on
the-
encounter.
60 on the encounters. 60, you say? Interesting. Okay. Let me make a couple of rolls for that really quickly.
So if anybody who's not familiar, this is one of the things I love the most about like OSR style games, setting toolkits, other stuff like that, is the ability to say you can have a general kernel of an idea for an adventure that is just kind of this bigger plot point. But then all the things that actually build out the dungeon or the sailing trip or other things like that can be fully randomly generated based on encounter stuff. Sea of Sands does it incredibly well through all the different tables and stuff it provides. So if you haven't had a chance to go check it out yet, please go do. Links or descriptions are also drop it down below for everybody again.
Great. So as you begin sailing, you can see initially there's nothing. For the first hour or two as you sail across the salt, things are going well. By about noontide, you can see on the horizon where once it was sort of a reflective, translucent gray. The sky was picked out, cleanly against it. Now you can see the horizon has taken on a dull, reddish smudge. Up ahead of you, still dozens of miles away, but you'll reach there soon, is the Vulcan sand. Explosive, fiery, and hot.
So I think Thus takes this opportunity to address the general crowd on deck.
So, who all here sailed on the Vulcan before? Show of hands. No one. All right, great. So you
wait, hold
already
on. I
know
was
the
slightly
rules.
out of frame. Like the captain was holding up both hands. Obviously, I can tell you about so many times I've sailed on the Vulcan sands.
So I see we have some veterans in the group. That's perfect.
But I'll let you take it.
You already know the rules, so
Oh, yeah.
this is for everybody else. Rules of the Vulcan sand. No spitting, no roughhousing on deck. You go overboard, the whole ship goes under. That's a big boom. You want to see it from afar. You don't want to see it up close. Do your business now. Because once we get out there, we got to keep it on deck until we get off the sand again. And that's unpleasant for everyone involved. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's the scout's job during the while we're on the Vulcan sands.
Oh
Yes,
man!
Question?
I have a question.
Yes.
Can I surf?
At your own peril, very away from the ship.
Awesome!
He like shakes his head, chuckling wryly.
Great.
Alex, I like the idea that sand has some sort of crazy trick that specifically involves Vulcan sand that they want to try. And I would love you to think about that and us to come back to it at some point in time. Like something that requires erupting sand as part of the reality.
I feel like you've gotten to know me as a player very well at this point, because that was already why I asked.
Okay, great. I just want to make sure.
So, as you set sail, continuing forward, by about 2 p.m., it's probably 6 hours into your sailing, about half of the day, the salt begins to give way to the Vulcan sand. The omnipresent scent and feel and crackle of salt begins to fade and instead replaced with a dull, heavy scent. I don't know if any of you have ever smelled really spicy peppers, like ghost peppers, something like that, but there is a scent of like fiery death to them where you smell them and it smells almost like hell. Traces of sulfur and brimstone mix into it, but there is this scent of like dull residual heat. Where once you had translucent silvery dunes, now it gives way to flowing red ones peppered here and there with black, white, and orange. Yes.
Yeah. So as we start really seeing the sand change under the bow, Thus starts doing very intense breath exercises. He's like getting the circular breathing going, doing all that. And as soon as we hit full Vulcan sand, he's casting Zephyr. So
Okay.
he takes a very deep breath in and blows out through his mouth a gust of wind that no humanoid individual should be able to produce naturally into the sail. And the sail billows up and we're going faster now.
Yeah.
Do we have to
Makes it
worry
sound
about
really good.
spittle with that at all? Is that like a concern in this situation?
Yeah.
It seems as though it's relegated to the deck in front of him.
Just making sure.
Yeah,
If
but
I
there is a
could-
lot of it. So stay out of the splash zone.
He's gonna be like, are you sick? Are you okay? You're breathing really weird.
He's just
Do
like
you
this
need
column of
surgery?
air just flying out of his face. He's just like gesturing that he's like fine, like everything's fine. But yeah, this lasts for a number of minutes before he has to take a break. But he's basically going to be casting.
How many dice are you committing to that?
Just one at a time.
Sure, yeah.
until I run out. So we'll get it.
Yeah, for anybody watching this part is not actually part of the Seas of Sands. We're using a very interesting D&D-esque type cobbled together system to do this. So you're playing the Zeromancer. What is happening mechanically, just for all the rest of us?
So Zeromancer is built using GLOG, the Goblin Laws of Gaming, one of my favorite rule sets. So it has like a collection of magic dice. And the way that works is when you cast a spell, instead of just like expending a spell slot like you would in ordinary D&D, instead you spend magic dice. And then they're D6s, and the spell scales in an efficacy, like its time or how powerful it is, based on both the number of dice you commit and the sum of the dice added together. So if you roll like 2 6s, that's a really good result. That's 12. That gets you something powerful. Like on a classic fireball, I believe it determines both the damage and the radius is the sum. But when you roll your magic dice, if you roll 4, 5, or 6, those magic dice are spent, not unlike a slot. And if you roll 1, 2, or 3, they're added back into your pool of magic dice. So it means you have this semi-unpredictable pool of magic dice that wax and wane depending on your luck. So you might blow them all in one big powerful burst, but maybe you can keep them going and like they're just lighter, less effective spells that keep going for a while because they keep returning to your pool.
That's cool. I love that.
And relatedly, Zeromancy, a modified version of these spells, there's originally I think 12 in the original one. We're going to have a bunch more, and they're going to be fit more for BX or a stretch goal in Seas. So if we get to our funding goals, then you will get to see a bunch of Thusis spells, not just in a crummy blog post, but in actual like nicely laid out formatting with improved rules and versions that work.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So I don't know exactly how you want me to handle the number of dice. I could just roll until I'm out.
Yeah, just give me a roll right now. We can see.
Great.
Just, you can roll a number. As you enter the Vulcan Sand proper, as the salt fades behind you. Oh, great. Okay. You begin to feel here and there, just kind of passively in the air, is small pinpricks. If you've ever held a sparkler, or if you've ever like been like have a spatula on something with like spattering hot oil, just like very faint pinpricks of like heat and pain, just for fractions of a second, just as the Vulcan sand in the air connects with your skin and just so it's just like faint pinpricks of heat all over you. It means that it's hard to ever get properly comfortable.
And is this the reality of the sand like exploding as it makes contact with our body?
Yeah, with your sweat. Yeah.
Very cool.
And so like a itty bitty like like sweat pores you can't even see are causing this. You would all know, or maybe everybody with Sandpiper would know, if you pitch a skin overboard, that will create an explosion like a hand grenade, just for reference in terms of scale and size. So that's the actual encounter roll. Yes.
Oh, I was gonna say, do we have anything that Sandpiper could take that's like a bottle or something like that?
You absolutely will have some water skins. Yes.
But like one that doesn't like isn't
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're drinking
that I
water.
could just use. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Then he's gonna wanna be like, I'm gonna go check out these fire sands and check it out and grab a skin and just get a little for later.
Great. So you scoop some Vulcan sand
Yeah,
up into
just gonna scoop a little.
great into your water skin. Perfect.
I just want to let Eldritch Mouse know right now, we can't be responsible for the things that Sandpiper does to himself. We can only be responsible for things we do to Sandpiper.
He has a life of his own.
So as for the actual phenomena roll, and this is funny because Tony, we were just talking about this the other day. You begin to see on the horizon. At first, it's just a billowing cloud, but then, as it begins to grow larger quickly, even over the course of mere minutes, you can see in this huge billowing cloud of red dust on the horizon, outlined in sharp shadow, jutting up out of the horizon, is a square. Itty bitty right now, but with even a minute of watching, grows in size. It seems to be coming towards you quite quickly.
This is still blowing, I think, at this point, because I got a good number of those off. A total of an hour over the course of the day.
Right.
I don't know how far we are into our travels, but
Yeah,
it would certainly be convenient if they were still going right now.
yeah, no, it'll also be coming when it approaches. Maybe, Drak, why don't you make me, Drak, and maybe Slide, depending on how knowledgeable Slide is feeling, why don't you make me an intelligence check to see if you can readily identify this?
Oh boy.
Sandpiper, I will let you roll, but you're Sandpiper.
I'm not a very smart soldier, but
And this is
7.
this is D20 plus
D20.
modifier.
D20 plus your modifier, yeah. What'd you get, Drak?
7.
7, okay, you probably don't. It's a big box.
No idea.
And
Big.
I rolled an 11 with my modifier being 3, and this is normal. Like this modernized D&D where I'm rolling
Yes.
over or under. So yeah,
Yes,
it's a
you're rolling
14.
over, yeah.
Which-
14, okay.
yeah.
So then, Slide, you've probably heard tales of these. These might have even factored into one of your tales before. This is a somewhat mythical phenomenon, a thing that happens called one of God's sanding blocks. They are truly monstrous cubes that hurtle across the desert and crush anything and everything in their path. Nobody knows where they go or why they go where they do. Everybody knows if they hit your ship will be splintered. They move faster than any ship can sail, and they will crush everything from cities to mountains to dunes in their way.
Do they go straight?
They go in straight lines.
So we just have to get out of the way before it gets here.
Yeah, just about.
I yell, we got to get out of the way.
What are you talking about? Slide, a great warrior running from a box? Let us go face it head on. No
Zeus
problem.
is spinning the wheel.
Slide backwards. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Sometimes the only way to defeat some monsters is to outrun them.
It's a monster? It's a square monster? I didn't know monsters were so geometric.
Yeah, it's like a math monster.
Oh, I'm bad at math, so I can see why that's scary.
Yeah, this is pulling our heading as
Okay.
He's still got our timing on the mind, so probably like a good not like perpendicular to its
Sure, yeah.
course, but like
Yeah.
we're still going the same direction. Just trying to
Great.
get out of the way.
So
Yes.
Sandpiper, are you just like flanking the ship on your board at this point in time? Or are you still on board?
Oh, I was thinking I was on board.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, no, it's a good question to ask. So as Thus spins the wheel, as I mentioned, within minutes, this cube begins to grow in size. Where once it was, if you held up your thumb, classic nuclear check style, it would be smaller than your thumbnail. Now, within 10 minutes, it is larger than any building you've ever seen. As it gets closer and you spin it away, you realize with Thus's navigation, the extra speed from your breath. Ordinarily, I'd probably have you been making some rolls, but because you have the extra speed from the Zephyr, it's not too difficult to get out of the way in time. You can see that this object bearing down on you is taller than most mountains. It stands what you would estimate easily a mile high, ripping through the clouds as it travels, hurtling towards you. As it draws close, you realize in front of it a huge, billowing, rippling, almost tsunami-like wave of sand coursing in front of it in its wake. Though you won't be hit head on, you will have to deal with these enormous wake waves coming towards you. Sandpiper, you look like you're about to say something.
Say, you know what you have to do.
That's just the excitement of a dune rider seeing a wave.
What do you do?
He wants to go ride it. Not
Great.
like in front of the,
Right.
like not in front of the thing and just like get crushed.
Okay.
But like go check out those sick waves, man.
Great. Okay. So as Sandpiper leaps overboard, and the crew heaves to, pulling the sails in line, Thus, what's your strategy for this wave approaching you? Do you plan to cut through it? Do you want to ride atop it? Do you want to try to let it carry you? What's the plan?
Well, firstly, Thus is like trying to sort of wildly wave his arms as if to say, "Don't do that, don't do that." But because he can't use his voice currently, he's unable to convey that.
I like the concept
Sandpiper,
that even
Oh,
you
yeah?
have to. I like the concept that you have to keep one hand on the wheel, so it just looks like you're waving. You're like, like no, but it just looks like.
So, like Sandpiper
Yeah.
sees it, but thinks you're just like waving in approval, and is like, "Yeah, look at me."
Yeah, I think the plan is to try to just like study the shape of the wake that it's making, kind of ride the outside of it as best as possible, and try to avoid any riptides that it's making.
Great.
It's like undercurrents.
So I'm going to have you roll and add both the ship's twist, which for a Dow is just 0, unfortunately. Dows are not known for being super nimble. And then also I would add in your either strength or wisdom, based on either how well you handle the wheel or how well you can pinpoint the navigation of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great. Those are both not good for me.
Sorry.
But it wasn't a terrible roll. It's a 13 on the die, so it's a 12.
Okay, great. So as Sandpiper leaps overboard and this wave begins to appear, the cube hurtles by you. It's there for fractions of a second. It's like a train. It's like a car. Faster than anything you've ever seen. Rips by you. For a second, there is no sound as it has to connect with you, and then you hear the blast of its speed. And then the wave hurtles towards you. You can see the crest of it bearing down on you, and as Thus spins the wheel, adjusting your lungs and adjusting the sails, you begin to crest atop it, moving upwards. It goes well for the first 90% as you move up towards the top of this wave. However, given that the oncoming mobile dune is more than 100 feet high, the cresting doesn't quite bear. And as you reach the top, a wave of Vulcan sand comes crashing onto the deck. You immediately hear like as your spittle begins to have small explosions. You hear some crunch of wood beneath it. You manage to make it over the top of the dune, cresting the wave, but you now have a whole boatload of Vulcan sand sitting atop your dune, atop your deck. Meantime, Sandpiper, what are you doing?
I will answer that, but I also just have a pure curiosity question. I asked that. If you were to put like just a few grains of Vulcan sand in your mouth, would it feel like pop rocks, or would you just die?
It would feel like pop rocks, except like imagine like thermal pop rocks. Like it's not just like nice like popping, like I don't actually know how they make pop rocks, but it would feel like pop rocks but hotter, and then you'd have burn marks on your tongue.
It'd be like hot ghost pepper pop rocks, right?
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
Yeah.
That's a business venture right there. Just wondering if that's something that Sandpiper would try, but I think probably not.
I don't know if Sandpiper would be able to not try it at this point, given the amount of sand flying through the air.
There's going to be some sand in the mouth, probably naturally. Yeah, he's just going to try to do his thing and try to ride out this big boy.
Great. I imagine you're like letting it carry you as far as it will go, right? Like you're fully riding the wave. Okay, great. Do you want to make me a dexterity check? And you have advantage on this because you're a dune rider. Ordinary people riding dune boards just make a check, but you have advantage because you're cool like that.
Oh hell yeah! $16.
16. Okay, not bad. So as you catch the tube and as you ride through it, your sand cutting through it on your dune board, or the dune board started cutting through the sand. Excuse me. All of you can see aboard the Vulture. You watch as I imagine you're pulling a six shotgun while you do it, as Sandpiper just hurtles out of the way. I mean, this wave is moving quicker than any wave has any right to. Given the divine cube that propels it. Sandpiper goes hurtling away. Sandpiper, for you, I can say with a fair degree of confidence, this is the best wave ever written. Certainly the largest, certainly the fastest. Maybe not the one you're most in control of, but definitely the largest and baddest wave you've seen. How long do you want to ride it? It'll keep going for quite a while.
Probably not too long, because I mean, me as a player, I'm like, I don't want to accidentally kill him. So he's just gonna, but also he kind of knows it's dangerous. He just wanted to check it out. So he also wants to come back and be like, did you see that? Did you see that? I was flying, baby.
Are you gonna try to pull off your sick Vulcan sand trick at this point in time?
Oh, he's saving that one.
He's saving that one. Okay, just making sure.
Might do while he's up in the air. He's probably gonna go put to see little pew pew pew, because he just wants to see the explosions. But then he's gonna come back and be like, did you see that?
So while Sandpiper's having a great time, Darak, Thus, and Slide, and of course your two NPCs, Najun and Layla, what are you doing with all this sand that's on your deck right now? It's maybe ankle deep in places.
Thus angles his breath downward onto the deck.
Okay. That will
catch something.
We'll catch a lot of it as sand gets blown off this way and that. You still have some of it in the corners, beneath your gunwales that won't blow off easily.
Yeah, I'm just you hear me leaning into Thus way too close and just yelling in Thus's ear. Yeah, this happened once. Actually, one time I saw two of these things run into each other. It was the craziest thing. You'd think there'd be a big explosion, but they just stopped and paused for a second and then shot off in different directions.
I have another physiological sand question.
Yes, of course.
Which is a kind of question I never knew I'd be asking. And it's when we have this, magical wind blowing the sand away.
Right.
Oh, what if it gets in someone's eye?
So if it gets in your eye, it will generally pop a little bit, not unlike a spark hitting your eye. That will usually do enough damage to cause spots. It will cause enough damage that it will be painful for a few days. It generally does not do extremely long-lasting damage.
Okay.
If someone like physically poured Vulcan sand into your eyes, that might be a more serious problem. So don't stand in the way of Thus's air blast. But just catching a few will hurt and be painful and swollen and nasty, but not like permanently dangerous.
Okay, cool. I was just
But yeah,
curious because I was
we
like,
take
we
all
got a
physiology sand questions.
big sand wind happening right now.
I mean, I think several of you have either like scarves that you can like wrap around your face or goggles. One of those two.
I'll grab the sand broom that I'm sure we have on the on the ship for sweeping sand. Once I've finished this long diatribe and start sweeping the sand. I'm still talking about it. Let me be clear. I'm not really done. I'm just now doing other things also.
Okay. So between various sand brooms and of course Thus's air blast, very handy these days. You managed to clean the Vulcan sand off. The dunes here is largely sort of like it's not permanent, but there is like a depression, a divot where the cube blasted the Vulcan sand, and thus the sands have been somewhat like altered here, where now there's this like wide channel moving outward, straight where the block was coming from, rather than the sort of more even dunes you had previously.
We're lucky that was a young one.
That was a baby?
Things are living?
Little baby.
What do the big ones look like?
Oh, they're big.
Yeah.
That was big.
I mean,
Well.
if you've never seen a big one, I guess. And I've seen plenty of them. We don't have time to talk about that though.
Great.
That must have been crazy.
Wipes his mouth off.
Yeah, so with that behind you, I imagine you're sailing. The block was not coming directly where you're coming from, but I imagine at least for a time you would keep sticking to this sort of chasm is the wrong word, but sort of divot, cleft, elongated trench created by the cube as you sail through it.
And is it just out of curiosity, because things are liquid, but so is this like slowly, is this like kinetic sand where it's like slowly just kind of moving back into? Okay. If
any of you watched infomercial ads in the 90s, sand is not so far from moon sand.
Yeah.
Great. Yes, as it slowly refills and you sail through it. Well done. I was worried there. I'd forgotten about Thus's ability. I was worried that was going to be a little more lethal than it was, and we'd splatter all of you in the first hour.
And that was SeasofSand.
It's kind of funny, but not funny. Early in our 7-month playtest, a character was instantly killed doing exactly what Sandpiper just did.
It did occur to me after I did it. I was like, wait a second, am I just gonna like kill this character right in the beginning, and then I'm just like here for the rest of this?
I think that the late character rolled like a 14 or something to ride it. So
well,
he was also
he was trying to ride the cube itself. Like he was trying to go up the side and attach himself to that, less than just the wave created.
Sure.
By it.
Okay.
But pretty close.
Also, just FYI, I'm pretty sure that's why we have a couple NPCs on deck. That way, if one of us dies, it's easy to.
What?
What?
Great. Anything else you want to do with the rest of this day now that the cube vanishes into the distance and the dust cloud begins to fade?
Does Vulcan sand harden during the
night?
It does,
yes.
Okay. I think Derek is going to take some time as the night settles to get up and walk on the Vulcan sand and reminisce on his younger days in armies where he would march upon different cities and try and fight. Although they never walked on Vulcan sand because it was so dangerous, and would reminisce old days.
Yeah, as evening settles, the sand, rather than kind of like the gritty and rugged texture it had before, it becomes more like gravel, like stony and porous. You can imagine, have you ever seen those like fields of magma where like it breaks into many smaller stones and there's like lots of those like small, like pumicy, igneous, porous stones? It's like that. So it's more like the collection of stones beneath your feet as you crunch through them. Still explosive though, just in a different capacity. Yeah, you good?
I love Walid's character walking off, and I just then love my character walking up while Walid's. What's your character's name again? Is it Doc?
Derek, yeah.
Derek. He like walking up and being like staring off into the distance, thinking about your old days in the war. I remember. all the experiences, like it's this deeply serene moment just ruined by this absolute blowhard. 20 minutes in.
I did want to have after the serene moment, Sandpiper come up and kind of awkwardly be running on the sand and be like, Derek, you must be thinking about some cool war stories, right? Can you tell me one?
Oh God, no, please. You know. I just have a moment of peace, and then I'll try to walk away. Although that cool, I think you would appreciate the cool sand surfing moment.
At this point, Deuce walks up to the group and
Hey, what's everybody doing out here? Is there something cool on the sand or?
God, I just wanted like a moment alone, like one.
Just the beauty of solitude.
I just wanted to hear a cool story. I thought there was going to be a story.
Oh, if you want a story,
Yeah!
I've got stories. And so
A large sigh.
I'll tell some stories.
Great. So as story time concludes with the evening, for your first full day out on the Vulcan sand, can I get a weather roll and an encounter roll, please? This is the ritual that you can see Dom and Walid are like glazed over. They're like, they grit their teeth through me asking for these rolls that portend their fortune.
Dom, why don't you roll this encounter?
all
Or,
right.
wait, you want to roll weather or encounter?
I should do the encounter. The
Okay.
weather is the one that I have problems with.
Okay. Walid, do you want to roll weather?
Oh, sure, yeah. Let's do it.
And this is a normal roll, right?
This is a normal roll, yes.
52 for weather.
For weather,
And a 63 for the encounter.
okay. 52 is a slightly warmer day, but not nearly as hot as it's been the past couple of days. Probably high heats around 105. And then you said a 62 for encounters?
63? Did I say
63?
63?
63?
I think so.
Okay. Let me make a couple of rolls.
By the way, Eldritch Mouse says Sandpiper needs sick-looking goggles.
Oh, absolutely. I did look back and see Sandpiper does in fact have a sand scarf, and I think he did get it to match his tattoos, sand patterned, and was really disappointed that no one can tell that it's sand.
Fantastic. Okay, this is an interesting one. So as you set sail in the morning, on a slightly cooler day here on the Vulcan, as it picks and prings off your skin, out in the dunes, pretty early in the morning actually, probably close to like 10 or something after only a couple hours of sailing, you can see out on the horizon amidst the dunes, there's something kind of like slightly reflective. It seems to like catch the sun. Like there's many reflective objects here in a way that is a little bit uncommon to see normally in Vulcan sand. In salt, this would just be like how the sand reflects, but here in the Vulcan, it means there's something out there a little bit more distinct.
I'll get a ship's mirror and just kind of like reflect at the reflection.
Yeah, it catches, and it's clearly something like glass or metal reflecting there.
But it doesn't like all of a sudden start moving towards us and try to kill us. That's what I was testing.
No.
Excellent.
What a way to test that.
Are we gonna die? Let's find out.
Ship's mirrors reference.
Better to know now than 5 minutes from now.
It's true, yeah. Ship's mirrors, I should explain. You only use them to signal from ship to ship because semiotics only take you so far. But with the hand signals, you use the mirrors as like a long range form of communication. So yes, this thing does not reply to whatever signal you send it to.
Cool.
It just kind of reflects it passively.
It's just you up. Like that's all it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, Captain, you want me to go check out that shiny thing?
I mean, that's what we pay you for.
And the surgery. Holds up a new
But
knife.
not the bone stuff. Yep.
No, not the bone. The bone's just for me.
Great.
Yeah. I'll go check it out.
So as you leap aboard and sail over there, or I mean, I guess board over there would be the verb. You can see now this is like a stone jutting up out of it, and then on top of that stone there's like a little like poorly made wooden box, and then on top of that little box there's a sign, and the sign says "Post," and then surrounding it are about 100 messages and bottles. This is a desert mailbox in a very strange location.
Can I just kind of look at a bunch of the different mailboxes and see if there's any cool mail?
So there's no mailboxes. It's just messages and bottles. There's just like 100 of them stacked.
That's what I meant. I meant the bottles.
Yeah. So you just want to sift through them?
Yeah.
You want to start reading other people's mail?
Something cool. Yeah.
Okay.
Or
anything-
if I'm just supposed to like roll to find one, that's.
I mean, is there anything? Are you looking for like love letters? Are you looking for curses? Are you looking for prayers? Are you looking for like last wills and testaments? Are you looking for just random messages? Looking for advertisements like House of Limes?
He just wants something cool.
Okay,
That's his only motivation.
Great, something cool. 6 versus this. Okay, great. Yeah. So you grab one with signature sandpiper style, and you tunk, uncork it. This is sort of like a deep blued bottle. And as you pull it out and unfurl it, on this piece of parchment is a twisting, intricate, complex rune, expanding outwards to fill almost every corner of the page.
If I were to roll intelligence, which is very low,
Yeah,
is there any chance that I would know what this means?
you can certainly try. You can also take it to Thus, who might have a better chance. You know,
I will also do that.
Right. Great.
But while I'm holding it, I'll
Okay.
be like, let me try to remember if I know what this is. Hold on, let me do math. So that would technically be a -1.
Great. You are fairly confident. You've seen this in some other surfer's dune board, which he explained way back when was a sign of good luck. Shaka bro.
Yeah. All right. This has got to cancel out my bone bad luck. All right. And then he's gonna take this back to the ship to share the good news.
Great.
So from a setting standpoint, is this just like a destination? People can be like, I want this bottle to go to this place.
Yeah, so you could like leave it here. You could be like, here is the bottle that I'm leaving on this post office for someone else to find.
Cool.
So if you know, like on trade routes, they're somewhat common because like, like, oh, if my distant lover comes by on their ship, they might be able to find the message from
So
me.
this is
like,
a Dropbox, basically.
This is a Dropbox, yeah.
Cool.
Can I? I'll secretly kind of write a message on my own, noticing that this is a mailbox, and I'll empty out that Vulcan sand that,
Sure.
that the dune border got.
Sure.
Because I'm like, this is too much of it, and we don't have a bottle. And then I'll put the message of my old soldier troop, which I have tattooed on my body, which says
Mhm.
"Pillage then burn." I'll roll it up, put it in the glass, and then put it in there.
Excellent.
Oh, Soldier of Fortune. Okay.
I also write a note and put it in a bottle, but it's just a
Mhm.
note to future me with words of encouragement
Oh, great.
You're doing great,
for the
buddy.
next time I pass this way.
Does anyone else want to pull any other bottles? See if you
Yeah,
can find
Goose
anything.
looks for the oldest one in the pile.
The oldest, grungiest one?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, yeah, this one is weathered. You can see it's coated in not just Vulcan sand, but you can see silk and salt and sugar in there as well. This bottle has been around the bend a number of times.
He like smiles knowingly at the bottle before uncorking it.
Okay, as you uncork it, inside is, you can see a very old, faded letter. This one, despite its age, though, is still pretty clear. This is a fairly saucy love letter. This is written to my unnamed love. Doesn't have a specified person, but it details all
probably
of
one
the
of my old ones. Sorry.
all of the like
Tell us the story.
passionate, delightful, delicious, luxurious things you want to do that quickly descends into something, quickly approaching, you might say smut. And then, of course, crammed into this bottle beneath it as well, you can see is like a pair of undergarments. Like somebody has left their underwear in this bottle.
The ancient undies. Awesome. The last thing I expected in this bottle.
Did you share this information, or is this a
I think you
private
probably
moment?
see him like kind of gingerly like just pulling it out just to like see what it is, and then like as soon as enough of it is out to tell what it is, he's like quick just lowering it back
go
in.
back in there.
That's good, right?
Because I think Sandpiper would take a look at the letter and be like, I don't get it.
It's okay.
The camera
It's
cuts in, and we
not
get get from the back of the cat. We do get a sense of he's wearing those exact same underwear. And so, and this is just a letter I wrote myself also too, way back when. I want to pick up the fanciest looking one.
The fanciest looking one?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this one, it's got one of these deep green glass bottles, but then you can see there's like fluted bits of silver and gold through it. Very intricate. The cork is like the finest actual wood cork rather than clay lots of people use.
Actually, absolutely intended for a captain, just like
Yeah.
I am.
As you uncork it, as you unfurl the parchment inside, this is a prayer. This is a long, complicated one written to the exalted sword singer and to the lion mother, two popular sort of like deific figures. It details a mother, her name is Zara, describing she has a distant daughter away in war, and this is a prayer for protection to the lion mother and the sword singer.
Cool.
It details that Zara will offer to these deities 3 camels already burned, and will offer 6 more if they protect her daughter from the war and the tides that come upon it, and the plague that ravages the city she fights in.
Awesome. I'm really
this
glad
is
to
like
know I've taken somebody's petition.
Yeah. So you can obviously just roll back up and leave it there if you want to. Like, there's nothing stopping you from just putting messages and models back where you got them.
Yeah. Oh, I get that. I actually think like Slide is going to take this as a sign and be like, oh yeah, I remember this war. This war. We're gonna like post it on the main mast and tell everybody to remember this intention and sacrifice something to the sands for this this whatever. Which may not be appropriate at all, but that's what he's gonna do.
Great.
Medical raise an eyebrow. Go, I don't think that's what that's for.
No. It's the way we used to do it back in the day. Trust me.
Okay, Captain, I believe you.
Yeah, I think Deuce leaves his position very surreptitiously on the pile back, so like it'll be the first one that someone coming here will look at and maybe pick up.
I do want to, before we leave the post office, ask Deuce about what I found and be like, this I saw this on another Dude Rider's board, and it means good luck, right?
You didn't touch that with your bare hand. Oh, I see you're touching with it. With
No, yeah, I'm touching it. Wait, you don't want me to do it like this? Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess you could keep doing it.
I licked it a little.
Anymore.
I mean, you're already cursed.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. Bone curse. But this is good luck, right? So it's gonna undo the curse.
Yeah, no, that's very bad luck. I mean, if see this line right here, be very careful to not touch the paper.
Yeah, I see the line. And
yeah, that
he's
line
putting
right
his
there.
nose like right on
See,
it.
If that was twisted 90 degrees this way, that's good luck. This, very, very bad luck. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So now I have 2 curses.
Yes.
I wouldn't call this one a curse so much as it's more like a damnation. I think is probably the better
okay.
term.
Okay. I got a damnation. All right.
And a curse.
Okay. And let's not forget the curse. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I'll put it back.
Great.
If
Put
you
it back where
want.
you got it. Okay. Anything else you want to do here at the post office? Great. So with that, you leave your messages and take some messages and you set off outwards deeper into the sand. Tony, are we good?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were about to say something, and I wanted to make sure I wasn't about to override you. Okay, you probably have, looking at this map here, given that each of these squares is 300 miles, you go about 75 miles a day in your Dow, you probably have about another day and a half in the Vulcan before you emerge out into the Alkali Quarter proper. I am not 100% confident that we'll make it to Constantinople in our time for today, but I hope that's okay. Can I get a weather roll and encounter roll for the next day as you keep sailing?
I'll do the encounter roll if somebody wants to take the weather roll. Dom.
Are you sure?
Do it.
Confirmed dialogue.
That's
Okay.
a one shot, you know what I'm saying?
All right. It's a 92.
A 92.
Hot.
Yeah, that is-
Hot.
Hot.
Yeah,
Ooh,
yes.
hot.
Yes. Not quite into the dangerous high heat, but still definitely not cool by any means. Peak temperature today is probably nearing 120, 118, 119, something like that.
It is funny to be playing like a desert-themed game when I'm living in a desert climate. Because I'm like, oh, that's not much more than like what it is today.
Yeah.
Growing up in Texas, I was reading like the average temperature range, and I was like, I mean, that's hot, I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
Whatever.
I mean, I'm from New England, where water falls from the sky on a regular basis, and
Yeah.
that's like,
I was like, I mean, the humidity has got to be way lower, so no big deal.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah.
I'm rolling flat on this.
No, at this point, you're actually so far out, you are now rolling an advantage. So I need you to roll twice
Okay.
and take the higher of the two.
The higher of the two would be 75.
Yes. 75. Okie dokes. Let's see what that is. Ooh. Interesting. Sorry, let me grab some charts real fast.
Ooh.
You love / hate to hear that.
Let me calculate your group HP real quick so I can.
Oh, okay. This is a favorite of mine. All right. So as you set sail for the day, within a few hours, probably 11 a.m. or so, you start to hear out across the red dunes a low. I have to make this noise loud so my mic will pick it up, but it's quite low and stuff to start with. A low like wum 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 sound, like an undulating, reverberating vocalization almost.
Yes, I've heard it many times, and I look knowingly at everyone.
What is it, Captain?
Oh, it's a noise that goes wom 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 wom.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yes. I'm very familiar with it.
Yeah. So, like, what was it coming from?
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly the
okay.
question that you should ask yourself the first time you hear this.
It is the first time, so I am.
Yes, I mean, you're doing a great job. I'm very proud of you. You're learning a lot here on the ship.
Thank you. I'm doing my best.
Would Derek recognize this as any sort of war cry, or any sort of?
I don't think it sounds like a war cry to you. Typically, war cries are shorter and louder. They don't continue undulating.
Okay.
As you keep going forward, though, it does start to get a little bit louder. It goes from a low like wum, 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 starts, and you can hear like a more richness of tone. It sounds more like a full throated, almost like a voice, than just like a low single sort of like sound.
So as much as he is a storytelling blowhard, Slide is well traveled. Is this a noise I have heard before, or is this not something I would have?
Do you want to make an intelligence check?
Sure,
See
I'll make
if
an
you can
intelligence
identify
check.
this.
That's a D12. I should not roll that one. Here we go. That's a dirty 20.
A dirty 20.
Ooh.
A dirty 20. Okay. So you have.
We might call it a sandy 20 in this situation.
Oh, true.
Ugh.
You have probably either encountered one of these or heard of them before. This is the fully technical term is a psychogenic brain coral. What that means is that brain coral, right, ordinary coral that grows, occasionally, due to some of the reactive properties in the lower sands, true to its name, takes on a kind of sentient property. And thus, psychogenic brain coral is brain coral that can think. So it is immobile, but oftentimes quite learned in a strange particular way because it is literally a brain that continues to grow, usually with the sand. And they make this undulating as kind of their mode of speech. As you start getting closer, you might be able to start picking out individual words or phrases or sounds.
Yes. I say, are you still asking that question, Sandpiper?
I still am.
Then behold what is it called again?
Psychogenic brain coral.
The psychogenic brain coral.
What is that? Tell me more right now.
Those in the know just call it the PBC, but basically it's spent enough time out in the desert to become self-aware, as many of us do when we take the time to sit quietly with our thoughts. And it's important anytime someone's sitting quietly with their thoughts to just respect that and give them their space in the desert.
Okay. I'll try to remember that for
yeah,
next
it's very
time.
important.
Okay.
But anyways, sometimes you can ask it a question or two about life.
Have you ever asked it a question?
Oh, I've asked so many questions in my life.
And what did it say?
I mean, that was one of them.
So as you continue to draw closer, you start to get fragments and snatches of words. You can hear like a wom wom ha wom wom god wom 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 raz wom 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 zam wom. Individual sort of like morphemes start to emerge amidst the wobbling, undulating sound.
Does it feel like it's all around us, or is it like coming from a certain?
No, it's
direction?
coming from ahead of you. You can tell there is direction to it. It's not like this is not the like hearing it reverberating in your brain. Like this is actual sound. It seems like.
And
You
it
can see
seems
it.
like it's coming towards us, or is it?
Or
like
you were
getting
going towards
closer?
it, really.
Or we're going towards it.
But yes.
Derek will take out his ring sword and say, "Well, whatever it is, I'm not messing with any monsters." And I'll take out the ring sword.
Okay.
You're gonna hurt the PBC?
Honestly, to be truthful, Captain, no offense, I don't think you know what you're talking about. Anything that seems like it's going to talk to me from underground needs to be destroyed and killed immediately.
Would you kill a small child in a basement?
Oh, what? Whoa. Oh, is that what you're insinuating? This is a child?
No, you just said anything underground that tries to talk to you, you would kill.
This is a monster. Don't you hear the reverberate?
I've tried to talk to people from basements and no one killed me.
Good.
Enough of this.
Good thing certain people weren't around.
Derek will ignore this and approach the very front of it. And when it gets close enough, I don't think if Derek has any ranged weapons, but if he can see something, he would like to maybe throw a bottle or a glass bottle at it.
Okay.
If there's anything that comes up.
Yeah, so as you approach, there's not anything in particular that you can see. The dunes here are maybe a little sort of like irregular compared to where they normally are. Ordinarily, Vulcan dunes tend to be very kind of like low and rich, and here they're a little bit larger and more kind of like traditionally dune dome-like. And again, this undulating sound, you can now start to get like pieces of words of like, one, one, hello, one, can one, yo, one, come one, now one that got wedded.
How are you doing today?
You speak in a wobbling voice back.
Absolutely.
You know the language?
Oh, I mean, you know, my accent's a little horrible, but I get by.
I dabbled a little in high school.
So, Slide,
I took 2 years of BBC talk when I was in high school. What?
You can hear the reply. It says,
I took AP.
We are doing wing well.
I think Derek puts his sword away, recognizing that, like, holy shit, Slide was actually right, and looks over there.
I almost just killed a child in a basement. Oh my god. What anything interesting on the head?
There are over 1,000 species of mythic species is living within coral fixtures nearby.
Seems like they know a lot about exactly what's going on underneath the sand and very little else.
Anything shiny down there?
Yes. There are many shipwrecks in the vicinity.
What did they wreck on?
The volcanic sand explosions.
Oh yeah, that makes sense because we're on explosive sand. All right, yeah.
Did anything cause that?
Water.
All right, because the sand explodes with the water. Yeah.
I like the way this coral thinks. I'm not gonna lie. I find it very familiar.
What does it want from us?
Is there anything we can do for you?
We would like guides to additional species of Samitic life forms.
Anybody have a book with them?
Books are rare and expensive. Wood is so costly.
And Coral can't read.
Do you have a book?
I know I don't have a book, but I think I know. Oh, this is one of the skills I was supposed to roll for in the beginning and then didn't.
It's fine.
Do
you want to roll right now?
Yes, except oh no, this is gonna reveal my lack of dice knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
A D3?
Roll 6 divided in half, round up.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, cool. Oh, cool. That's exactly the one that I wanted.
Great. Do you want to tell the class what you've discovered?
Yeah. I have the somologist skill, so I believe that means I know about like a lot of these creatures, which would make sense because I'm vibing with them a lot when I'm riding the waves. So I could be like, oh, I know about these creatures. I know things.
Great. Yeah. So as you yell down to the brain coral and it replies in its warbling tone, just to spend a long time talking about, various subgenuses of fish, Yeah, you have like a great conversation for like 15 minutes about like the various like species of fish that you know, and like how the various like samo-amphibious life forms adapt and all these things. Brain Coral is thrilled to have somebody to converse with. It's very excited to talk about like subspecies of individual
so
fish
is
kinds.
Sandpiper.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't have a lot of friends at home except my mom, and my mom always calls me Gregory. So this is really great. What's your name?
We are called Musicidae de Deploria Magis Sapiensis.
So do you have like a nickname or?
Musicidae de Deploria Magis Sapiensis.
Okay, I'm gonna work on that one.
In another game, I believe this was referred to as a moose cake.
Indeed.
Yeah. Anything else?
Do I learn anything interesting?
Yeah, you learn about a great deal of specific Vulcan kinds of Semitic fish that grow here.
Oh, cool.
I say Semitic, I should clarify. That's not Semitic, S-E-M, that is P-S-A-M-M-I-T-I-C, Semitic, to have to do with the sandy seas, like aquatic.
It would be very interesting.
Don't add us,
other one.
Twitter. We get it.
Yeah. It's Greek, I'm sorry I didn't come up with the word.
Cool.
Any other discussions, questions, anything else you want to discuss with the brain coral?
Not with the brain coral, but
Sandpiper, that seemed like a pretty wholesome and good conversation that you may not you wouldn't necessarily categorize as bad luck conversation.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe there isn't any bad luck. Maybe I'm not cursed after all.
That could certainly be, but
Yeah, just damn.
I mean, I was gonna tell
Maybe
you
the damnation overrides the curse.
Oh,
Could
right,
be.
yeah. The damnation. Okay, you're right. The damnation's worse. Cool.
I'm just gonna say, just prepare yourself for the other shoe to drop, because it's coming.
Oh,
then he just goes
okay.
back to the helm.
Okay, I'm prepared for shoes dropping anytime.
He just has a somber look on his face as he's like
He's
kind of
just
nodding.
gonna kind of like hug his dune board and be like, okay, all right.
That reminds me, do you have any like designs in your dune board? Any like etched patterns or anything?
Sand.
Okay. It's more sand pattern.
he just loves the sand.
Yeah.
And the thing is,
fair.
like, that pattern cost a lot to get done. Like, it was not a cheap
Yeah.
pattern. And, like, they kept on trying to tell you, like, no one's going to be able to tell, and it's going to be expensive. And you were like, doesn't matter.
He's like, no, it's sand is life. I have a bond with the sand, and I need people to see it.
Right. So you have about one more day in the Vulcan sand. Let's do that last day, and then we will call a short break. So can I get a weather roll and an encounter roll, please? From whichever of you are feeling lucky and or unlucky.
Alex, you want to take the encounter roll?
Yeah, sure. Now that I
I'll do
know
the
that
weather
I
roll.
am the proud owner of the D100 and have been this whole time.
For a second, I was almost confused. Sometimes I get confused between a 60 and a 90, which doesn't make any sense. It's far easier to tell. 98
98 for the encounter or the weather?
for the weather.
And the encounter is at advantage, right?
The encounter is at advantage.
Okay. $97.
Great.
Oh boy.
Just in case anyone was wondering, that was the difference between a 97 and a 94. So I know
great.
Jeez.
it was not great.
Great. Okay. So this is when we hit with the classic. Yeah, a few things happen. Let me make a couple of rolls really fast just to see exactly.
Just to see how screwed we are.
Yeah, it's going to be a non-zero quantity of being screwed, but we will see precisely.
Approximately 98 of being screwed.
Could be, yeah, very much could be. Where is my document? Sorry, give me 1 second just to find my monsters. Okay. So, immediately as you wake up in the morning, as soon as dawn breaks, you can tell today is going to be a hot one, hotter than even yesterday. And I mean, you're all welcome to deal with high heat like this. The challenge, though, is that Vulcan sand, like when it gets very wet, when it gets very hot, also explodes in fiery blasts. So at the hottest point of today, there is a very high likelihood that if any particular pinprick of heat emerges, meaning like even if like a dune blows onto itself or something like that, or a convection current decides to move, you will pretty quickly be caught in a chain reaction, conflagration, explosive sand field.
Cool. This is why I come out to the Vulcan sands all the time. It's my favorite part of the trip.
Yeah.
So currently looking at the map, you are probably at least 50 miles from the nearest non-Vulcan sand.
Yeah.
Seems worth it. Seems worth setting sail for it.
Hey, Deuce, do you want to do that wind thing?
That wind
again?
thing?
Yeah.
That was pretty neat.
We're gonna cover as much ground as possible in the morning before it gets too hot. Here we go.
Any?
Okay.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Okay. So you begin. This one's going to
50
matter.
miles.
So
How long does it take for us to go to 50 miles without?
50 miles. So your zest, your ship
how much
zest
faster we're going.
is 6 by default, which means you do 6 knots. So that means that's 50 divided by 6 is like 9 and some change, or 8 and some change. So it would take you 2/3 of a day. Certainly be at the hottest point of the day by the time that happens.
Yes. So generally speaking, how many of these would I have to? That's the question, right? How many of these would have to go off in order for us to clear it before that happens? I don't know. That's not necessarily a question specifically for you. That's a general math question.
How fast? What is the speed of the Zeramancer's Zephyr? Does it state a speed?
It doesn't really say speed. It says a high speed, a blast of high speed wind comes out in a line.
Okay. So then, if we assume that those are, ordinary trade winds are anywhere between, 0 and 20 miles an hour. That kind of is what we're assuming. You're at close to double that. So you're looking at 40 mile an hour winds. That can't quite double your speed because you risk being demasted, but that would
might be more than that.
But I mean, much more than that, you'll have to start letting your sail, otherwise your mast will snap.
Sure.
Right? Galley's aren't equipped for it's like flying. It's like sailing in a hurricane.
Yeah.
Right.
But that means you could probably get up to 10 zest, I would say. So close to double your speed, which would mean that you are looking at something on the order of 50 miles will only take 5 hours. It's 8 a.m. right now is dawn. Hottest part of the day is between noon and 2 p.m. So that means you would be exiting the Vulcan at the hottest part of the day.
Okay. So there's absolutely no way that I'm going to be able to sustain this for 5 hours. I got really lucky last time and got it to go for 1 hour. So
the next question then is there a way you can keep the sand cool around your ship?
You just dump water on it.
Easy.
There we go.
What do we have with us?
So ordinary ships, you have in your cargo hold, you have a bunch of water, a bunch of food, tequila, and rum is your cargo.
Right.
Ships are equipped with normal ship equipment, so that means a lot of rope, plenty of kind of like ship charts, navigational tools, your usual kind of array of like ship's knives. The broom was mentioned earlier, like hatches and stuff. Basic kind of like tools for sailing. You obviously have crew, you have bodies. You've got hammocks, lots of rope.
Here's an idea. Why don't we build like a little umbrella over our whole boat with extra hammocks that we don't use, and then the shade around just the part of our boat, and maybe a little bit over it, so that it's like a little bit of a umbrella. Does this make sense?
You would need a lot more than just your hammocks. You might need to use the sails.
The sails. We'd go a little slower.
We got to put them on that perpendicular track. Yeah. Yes, Eldritch Mouse also says throw knives at the sand to cool it down.
I got one.
Oh yeah.
I got a bone.
It's true. I'm gonna assume this is probably a horrible idea. Anyways, alcohol. Does alcohol react with Vulcan sand the same way that water does?
Not entirely. It's not pure water, right? The purity of the water changes the size of the explosion. Because alcohol is still mostly water, it will explode, and because it's alcohol, it will burn.
Okay, that's so not actually helpful at this point in time.
Yeah.
So
I will also just tell all of you.
Forms of fire.
like this is like I am ashamed to like have this be like the stream. This might just be the ship blows up and you all die. Like just keep that as like that is a non-zero chance here.
Sure. So I think the shade thing is the play.
Yeah,
But I objectively think it probably means we can't move for the day, because it's not like the shade will cool the sand down as we cut through it. It means we have to stop and let the sand sit for the day.
It's not a bad idea.
Not create friction, not do anything else. Just sit on the sand for the day and hope that dice rolls play out in our favor.
So just to sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I think the logical thing is like we actually even have to. It probably has to be somewhat active, because we probably have to rotate the ship during the day to keep it between the sunshade between the sun and the sand.
Yeah. So a dhow, just for reference, if you look at the Kickstarter page, the big boat there is a dhow.
You guys remember when I rolled that 98 on the weather thing?
So dhows have one or two sails. Yours just has one, but it has a big lateen sail. So it's a big, like, mostly triangular sail, and your crossbeam that it hangs on, like a traditional, like if you think of like a normal, like, 18th century pirate ship, it's like a smooth flat crossbeam. Yours is angled. It goes fore and aft. So it goes forward and back. So it's rigged a little differently than like traditional Western ships. What it means is you have this giant piece of triangular sail, and then you have this like semi-mobile crossbeam that it sits on. So your mast can't move, but that crossbeam can. Yeah. And the sails you can take down and put wherever you want to. Right. Just to, if that makes sense from like a logistical perspective.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that we're actually. I mean, like, I think we've got to try. I think that's. I think that's the play. And you can blow real hard. That's what you can do, right? As a zero mancer, that's what you got. All right.
What's your other spell?
Or we could try and hoof it.
My other spell is it lets us travel on foot a little easier without being. We would be immune to.
Oh, we would blow up immediately.
If our ship were to explode, would it be like we see a chain reaction coming and we're like, well, or is it like more like spontaneous combustion, like we're just hanging out and then the ship just goes and that's
it? So the sand spontaneously combusts. It means that if it like blows up a mile away, then you might see the chain of explosion come towards you as the heat.
Oh, so either.
But it might be that the explosion starts, due to the convection currents underneath you, and then you just blow.
And then we just explode.
Yeah.
Which is what the shadows would help us not happen.
But at the very least.
Yeah. We won't immediately blow up.
Yeah, it could be like we can get a few more seconds versus just dying immediately.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think there's got to be some weird mix of trying to like take whatever rope we have, run it under the either after fore of the ship, and like hoisting that crossbeam up into the air as much as we possibly can to shade the ground in front of us, and probably pulling the sail back towards whatever other end we are doing.
Yeah. So the physical challenge here is you have the crossbeam, and if you think about a triangular sail, you have two corners already suspended. You can get those pretty high up on your mast. Right. Which is, how are you going to get the third one up in the air? Normally, you strap that down near the aft castle so that like you catch the wind that flows, horizontally. How are you going to get that third corner up in the air? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm trying to. Am I being clear?
No, you are. That's the same thing I'm trying.
I just want to make sure you understand
and I'm trying to figure out what our anchor point is that allows us to do that.
If you had another mast, you could boost it out there. If you had something really tall and skinny, you could do it. If you have some way of like,
we don't have a mizzen mast on this ship, do we?
You don't have a mizzen mast.
How tall is a sand rider's board?
About 8-10 feet.
How many barrels?
That's still taller than any of us.
Yeah, you have, in terms of barrels, at least 6, 2 water barrels and 4, liquor barrels. You might have 1 or 2 more as well.
And those are each 4
feet. Those are
100
100 gallons, so they're bigger than that. They're probably like 6 feet high.
Okay, so
if we were to take turns holding up,
so
on top of something else.
Well, so here's my thought. So we could theoretically easily safely stack 3 on the bottom, put another one on top of that. That would get us 12 feet up plus a board. Would give us another 8 to 10 feet, which would be 20 to 22 feet. Yeah.
Problem there is we'd have to move. We still have to move during the day, like to match the sun. So I guess
that's more of a tilt. That's more of a tilt than it is anything else, though, right? Like that's an anticipatory tilt.
Yeah.
which I mean, again, if we don't have anything we're doing, then it doesn't matter, and we just die right now, or roll for GM benevolence. But yeah, I mean, I think that's probably our best. I mean, we could try to stack it up a little bit higher, but I don't think we're gonna get it safely any taller than that.
Okay.
I mean, really, depending on how far it is away from the ship that we need to get the sail, we could like pull a couple of boards up from the deck, extend them out far from the ship, and use that as the third point.
That works
So
too.
it kind of, and then we would have a little more mobility too.
What do you do?
Is either of those options?
Slide looks at Theus and says, "You know what? I could tell you a ton of stories about times I've been in this situation, but I trust your instinct. What are we doing?"
Well, I vote
Tell
we
us,
make.
Zeus. Tell us.
This has only happened to me once before, and I didn't make it out. So this time I'm hoping that we can do a better job. So what
You
I'm
did
thinking
it?
is, no, I
Alright.
splattered everywhere. But so what I'm thinking is, pull up some boards off the deck. I think we could get a good, I don't know,
A number of feet. He says an appropriate number of feet.
Yeah.
away from the deck here, just extending off the side. Lash one corner of the sail to the end of that board. Lash the other two to the mast as normal. And then hope we cool it off enough to not die.
Yeah, I also think the other play here is probably when we get to that hottest point in the day, Theus actively probably trying to cool down the sand with wind is probably the other part of this.
Yeah.
That we may not be able to maintain indefinitely, but maybe we can get it cool enough that it matters.
If I
Yeah,
start
right,
hearing a
right.
lot of popping,
Yeah.
I will start.
Yeah, Pepper like thinks
cooling
that
it
he's
off.
helping and would like join Zeus and like try to go because he doesn't realize that there's magic involved. And it's like, oh yeah, I gotta.
So you're gonna start ripping boards out of your deck? That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a few.
Yeah,
Come out.
We can
Who
put them
is
back
doing-
later.
Who is doing the like both like removing of boards and then lashing together? Who's doing the carpentry? Do any of you have any training in carpentry? Anything similar?
I am good at rock climbing.
I could tell you about the things I've built, but we don't have time for that. I feel like knowing where to put a pin in when you're climbing a rock is a lot like knowing where to put a nail into a board.
I am strong, so I can help with physically pulling up the board.
Sure. Okay.
Probably not the putting them back together again part.
I think one of our hands is probably really good at carpentry.
We probably have a
let's-
ship. We probably have a
Yeah.
ship right on the board. None of us took that position, so
You
Oh,
are very
yeah.
lucky. Najun actually used to be a carpenter's mate, and thus she has a
Oh.
non-zero amount of training.
Wonderful.
Perfect.
Great. So between Najun and Sandpiper, you start to hatchets come out and boards start to get ripped up. Sandpiper, can you make me a strength check just to see how quickly you can get this set up? Failure here doesn't mean you failed, just that it goes slowly.
Okay. Well, it's a sandy 20.
Great. Yeah. So work goes quickly. Within less than an hour, Najun with lashes and nails, you have this roughly 30-foot odd pole sort of sticking out back from your aft castle, which then you with ropes lash to your sail. The triangular shadow that it casts is not covering the entirety of your ship, just due to the fact that angles make that difficult. But you are getting a good 80% of your ship is cast in shadow, plus a chunk of the sand around it.
That's better than I would have expected.
The stand is more important than the ship, right?
Depends.
The sand under the ship should stay cooler by default of it
Right.
of the ship.
There's
and
the
of it.
ship on
So
it.
that's what I was talking about with the tilt. Like that's why we've got to kind of manage the.
Yes, you can turn the crossbeam, and you can obviously let
Yeah.
more rope on
Well-
your new third improvised mast.
I mean, I guess we're not at speed, but we should be also be able to not because we're not at speed, not significantly, but we should be able to tilt the ship.
Yeah, I mean, you can roll barrels from side to side. of the
Yeah, we
tilt.
can reweight things and
Yeah.
move stuff around to try to
Great.
adjust all that, and that's the plan: is to slowly tilt
Okay.
between us and the sun.
Now,
Great.
Sam, let us know what the encounter was.
We'll get there. Don't worry.
It's a great place to beach for the day and just hang out, and we just kept going.
Yeah,
Roll
we
the beach
went
episode
to
encounter.
survive.
Well done.
Yeah.
It is by my count 2:58. Do we want to call a short break? let the tension simmer a little bit.
That sounds great. That sounds
Okay.
great.
Okay.
If you just joined us for that, like, I feel like the conversation we started having at one point, and that was like, every time somebody says OSR and somebody's like, there's a lot of math, and we're like, no, there's not that much math. Somebody tuned in right as we were like, wait, how many knots is it? And then like, if we stack all
What are the
these
angles
things up,
of the sun?
what are the
Exactly,
feet? And
zero.
how do you? So, anyways, we are playing Sea of Sands with an OSR setting toolkit that beautifully mixes some concepts of desert adventures with sail and sword vibes. We're having an absolute blast. We're going to take a 5-minute break. During that 5-minute break, I would encourage you go to ttrpg.link/SeasofSandks. Check out the project. There's some absolutely amazing stuff happening to it. I would really encourage you to do it. Sam and I did an interview about it the other day on our channel. You can go check that out also. But we're going to be back, like I said, in 5 minutes to play some more Seas of Sand. We are back here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. My name is Tony Vicente. I'm Chief Alchemist, and we may have a stream first. Players die on stream sometimes. I've killed players on stream sometimes. We've even had entire parties die, but those have been in play-to-lose games or games where that conceit is set up at the beginning of the game as somewhat of a certainty. That is not the case here. We may have our first genuine TPK about to happen. We may not. We may figure our way out of this. We are playing SeasofSand as an OSR-style toolkit. We're playing with kind of a kit-bashed version of a classic role-playing game system. But we are trapped in the middle of Vulcan sand, which explodes if it gets wet, but also if it gets too hot. And then for our weather for the day, rolled incredibly high heat. And so now we're trying to figure out how to survive while having no way to get out of this sand that might explode at any moment. With that said, I'm going to pass things back over to our GM and game designer, Sam, to tell us how we're going to die.
Yeah, so the party has just rigged up, or I should say the crew has just rigged up their sail, normally on a sort of a hanging fore and aft rigged lateen sail. They've rigged it up such with another improvised sort of like secondary mast, quote unquote, attached to their aft castle, to try to get as much shade as possible to try to cool down the sands. Covered about 80% of the ship and some of the surrounding sands. We'll see exactly how it goes. So you spend about an hour getting this all set up, making plans, setting it going. Currently, you know, probably, I don't know, imagine one of you has impeccable weather sense. You can tell it's about 110 degrees out right now. Vulcan sand starts to explode once it gets above about 100, or once the air starts to get about 100. Whoa, gets to be about above 120 words. You've got at least an hour or two before the big bangs start happening.
As the captain, I'm going to call the crew in one by one to give them their orders and to tell them to write a letter to their loved one. So if anybody wants to talk about anything during that time, that's great. But I do want to talk to Sandpiper last.
I don't have anything to write. I refuse to die today, so I won't.
Totally understood.
Theus just mentions that, you know, I mean, this is a better try than last time, but you know, I hope to never have a chance again to fail at this one. Well, I guess see you in the next life, or not. I don't know.
So Sandpiper, when you come in, I give you like a bag full of bottles, and I say, look, if things go south, I just need you to ride the sands out of here. Like, don't wait for us. Just go, Sandpiper.
Are you sure? Are you sure, Captain?
I mean,
Sly?
don't cut and run early. Like, do your job. But
Oh yeah. No. I wasn't. You know. I can't help but wonder if maybe this was my fault. What with the boat and then you know, the damnation, and well, the truth is, the reason I started riding the sands in the first place is because they ate my dad.
Look, we don't have a lot of time to get into your backstory right now. I know it's long and extensive.
All right. I'll go.
Look, and also here's the deal. Cards on the table. If this is because of the damnation of that you've brought upon us, when you leave this ship, it may just follow you also too. So this is kind of like a hey.
Okay.
The messages make it out, or you die. One of the two. Like it's you know, there's a silver lining to whatever cloud we have here.
All right. Well, thank you,
I can tell you all the ways this has worked out in the past when I've done this with people, but we don't have time for that right now.
Okay, cool.
All right. As the hours pass on and, you know, your nerves fray even further than I imagine they are here at your computer screens, by about 11:30 or noon, you can start to see two things. One of them is in the distance. You can hear them usually before you see them, as you hear the low, dull roar, and then you can see a cloud of red smoke expanding somewhere in the distance as the first of the explosions begins due to the high heat. As they get closer, as they begin to become more common, you can see these huge, just like cacophonous conflagrations of flame and sand burst up out of the sand. Sometimes they'll land and continue to explode. Other times there'll just be one that cools itself down by you know, sucking out the rest of the heat. Amidst all of this, you also can see somewhere on the horizon something glinting and drawing closer. You'll see it for a few seconds. It will catch the light like reflecting glass and then vanish again. coming towards you.
This has been on the seas for a while. Is there any chance that he's seen something like this before?
Yeah, there's a decent chance you might have seen one of these. This is probably one of the most infamous beasts in the seas that dwells in Vulcan sand. There's a lot of names for these. Colloquially, they are known as glass dragons. Technically, they are known as vitric worms. They are sea serpents made of molten glass, and thus the heat of the sand doesn't affect them. And if, on the off chance they do get hit by an explosion, it doesn't cause much problem for them. As it draws closer, you can see that both due to the heat and the Vulcan sand, around this cascading, worming thing of glass, there are explosions going off near constantly around it. Where they land, it leads an odd trail of like reflective material behind it, almost as if it turns the sands to glass where it travels. It's coming towards you. It's currently about 11:30. What do you do?
11:30.
All right, Sandpiper, you know what your job is.
Yes, Captain.
Oh boy.
No, I meant
I-
pass out lunch. Pass out lunch to everybody. It's almost the lunch hour.
Oh, that. Oh, you just went lunch. Okay, cool.
Do we have any? Is this this is a traveling ship, right? There are no weapons on board.
I mean, you might have a few hatchets and knives, and you've got your sword, obviously.
I got a dagger
Right.
and a bone.
That's
Okay.
probably a dagger of glass dragon slain. So we're probably set.
Probably.
Maybe we can distract it. Do we have a barrel of water? Maybe we toss it to the side.
But
far enough so
we're
that
not
it doesn't-
moving.
Right.
So I mean, I think the captain does come over to Sandpiper and say, "Hey, now that you've passed out all those sandwiches again, thank you very much for that. Do you think you can outrun that thing?"
I am very distracting. I could, Captain. I'm gonna give it my best.
What do you do, Sandpiper?
I'll go out and see if I can cause a little distraction and like just kind of get it to like go a different direction and then hopefully not die and then come back.
Okay. So you leap off the side of the boat, dune board in hand, and just ride in another direction?
We'll kind of like go towards it first.
Sure.
To see if I can kind of like get its attention and be like,
Okay.
"Hey, look at me!
Okay.
And then try to steer it away from the ship. But before I do, because he's kind of like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna get eaten by a dragon right now," he's gonna be like, "Let's get Sandy."
Godspeed.
Pulls down the goggles.
Yeah, the sick goggles. Thank you, Eldritch Mouse, that I suddenly have. Puts on the
Okay.
scarf and yeah, let's go.
And you still have
So
that epic trick you've got to do in your back pocket too.
Yeah, though I have a question about that trick.
Yes.
Do I get to land back on my board at the end of the trick?
If you can get your trajectory such that you land where the board is, but
Okay,
not
cool.
necessarily.
All right, we'll see. Yeah, maybe I'll pull out that sick trick and slay a dragon, or maybe I'll just fucking die.
Maybe we'll see. So, as you leap overboard and begin to board towards this cascading, coursing, worm-like glass beast, as you're within about 100 feet of it, you can see its head suddenly burst from the sand as explosions cascade all around it. You can see the wide, flared, draconic head. As it opens its mouth, you can see its two sheets of glass ripping apart, warbling, undulating streams of molten white-hot glass course between it, and it looks down at you. For like one long second, it stares. Hello.
Hello, sir. I didn't know you could talk.
Of course.
What's your name?
I am known as Tyraxis.
That's a cool name. My name is technically Gregory, but everyone calls me Sandpiper. Well, not everyone. I'm trying to get it to catch on. Mostly they call me Gregory, but don't tell the crew. Were you gonna kill them?
The thought had crossed my mind, yes, but I had not decided yet. And it flicks a molten tongue out at you, and you can see like hot glass cascades around you and explosions where it lands.
Would you please not?
Give me a reason, small one. Small sandpiper, like the
Well-
bird for which you are named.
I have some very interesting facts about fish.
I see. Were I an ordinary sea serpent, perhaps that would suffice. However, I am a vitric worm. I desire neither the flesh of men nor the flesh of beasts.
Well, what do you desire?
Glass, gold, jewels to enhance my form. And you can see it shakes its liquid body, and you can see inside of it pulsing is like golden veins and a molten fiery metal core.
Well, my captain just gave me all these bottles. Do you want some?
Bottles of mere glass, spun from silk and sugar.
You said you liked glass, right?
I seek only the finest of glasses, made from sands not seen by mortals in a century.
Well, we got this really cool one that the captain found that was like shiny, and it has like these little spinnies of silver and gold in it. Maybe you like this one?
Can you make me a charisma check?
Okay. let me see how charismatic I am. If I can find my little sheet. There we go. Just straight charisma?
19. 19. It lowers its head, and you can feel the heat emanating off it, like standing next to a furnace. This molten tongue laps forward and snatches the glass bottle out of your hand, pulls it into that fiery molten maw. As it crunches, you can see the glass through the sort of semi-translucent skin just dissolve into heat. A fine glass, small one.
Thank you.
And tell me, what else can the others on your ship offer me to spare their lives as I may spare yours?
Do you like alcohol?
From time to time, perhaps.
We got some of that too.
Are you the captain of your vessel, small one?
No, I'm not. Maybe one day. But our captain's really cool. Captain Slide has lots of fun stories.
I shall have to speak with them.
Okay.
Dives down to the sand again, and there's blasts of molten sand. You can see now up close, Sandpiper, where it dives, it leaves a trail of glass behind it. So you could like track like this half-formed tunnel through the sand where the worm goes as it just crystallizes and cools on the sand around it.
I'd like to try to scoop up just like some of the pieces of glass because they're pretty and they're shiny, and I'd like to have them.
Yeah.
All right, I got some glass, and I guess I'll just follow it back to the ship.
Great.
Lovely. As I see the sand serpent like start swimming towards us, I'm gonna like look at the companions and then like somberly go downstairs and pick up like a barrel of some of the alcohol. I'm gonna put it on deck, and I'm gonna keep it to the side, and I'm gonna keep the lid open. I look towards them and I say, "If we die today, we take that thing with us." And I'm beginning to pour, like I'm just like I'm shaking the water so that it like it's about to fall to the ground, and it doesn't, and then it's about to just in case.
I thought you just wanted a last drink. That's
If we're going to die today, we're going to die freaking wasted.
From the heat, for sure, no. From a glass dragon, different situation.
I have a question, and it's: am I able to keep pace with the glass dragon, or can I go faster, or am I lagging behind?
I think at this moment you are keeping pace with it, but you all kind of get the sense it's got a kind of luxurious pace to its movements.
Like it could go faster if it wanted.
It probably could, yeah. But right now you can keep pace with it.
Okay, because I'm gonna try to like wave at everyone.
Yeah.
To be like trying to signal like we're gonna talk. You're gonna talk to it. So I'm like.
It's like this is not how I expected this to go.
That's the exact opposite of what you told him to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, everyone say hello to shoe number 2.
As you say that, From the sand, in a fiery blast, not 100 feet away from your ship, comes the head of this worm emerging, where it rears up and it shakes itself off, and you can see glass and sand come off it. Bits of molten glass and Vulcan sand spatter across your deck in places. And it slowly moves towards you. Which of you is captain aboard this vessel?
I am captain, sometimes called Admiral Slide Swiftwind.
Captain Slide, as it were. It lowers its head to you, and you can see it's got these two molten eyes staring you down. Tell me this, Captain Slide. Why should I spare you and your crew? Why not give you an early end and spare you from the heat? And on cue, there's a blast in the distance of Vulcan sand exploding.
Yeah. So I was like, well, to illustrate that point, let me tell you a story. So this is great because so if anybody just thinks this has been me being a complete asinine character, the only ability I took, which was the dumbest one, but 100% seemed like fun when we got into port, ability that my character has is, because I'm playing the Rake class, is Raconteur. I'm a master storyteller capable of holding an audience spellbound and thus distracted for up to 1d6 hours. Vaguely plausible stories you tell about your own exploits will always be believed until evidence is presented to the contrary. I'm going to start to tell this dragon a story. While I'm telling this dragon a story, I'm going to, my plan is, while I have its attention, captured for 3 hours,
Okay.
as I'm going to begin to walk around the edge of the ship, and encouraging it to follow me, therefore building a glass barrier between us and the rest of the sea was this thing's trail.
Wow.
About the time that I, while sailing the seas, partnered with another great glass dragon to unearth a treasure that has a really cool sounding name that my character would be easily be able to come up with, but I wouldn't. And how we eventually took down some great enemy of the great glass dragons. And yeah, I'm going to tell them that story like in great detail, and everybody around is totally enraptured by this story while we do that.
Great. So 3 hours means from 11:30 to 2:30. That is the hottest part of the day. And it's not hard to cook this dragon. I mean, clearly it's kind of more interested in like whatever you have to say than just immediately murdering all of you. So it follows you pretty on key, not unlike a human audience, as it sort of sways and moves through the sand. You can see you are beginning to form this sort of like glass wall in the sand around the ship. So
Now, this is going to be another problem after this. Like,
undoubtedly. So that will protect you from any chain explosions. If that's enough that, like, if there's one coming towards the ship,
right,
it will catch the glass wall. It won't stop you from any that directly start under the ship.
Right.
Which the shade does help with. So I'm going to make a roll, but you have some advantages in, just to see over the course of the next 3 hours.
Oh, wait.
If you get
the one person who did get orders from me earlier, and we did say this before, but did not. When he came to the cabin, I reminded you need to blow on the sand around the ship, Theseus, during the hottest part of the day.
Yeah.
Which I did say earlier, but not when he came to my cabin.
Yeah.
Yeah. He remembers. Yeah, we're like seeing this sort of glass wall plan coming into effect. I think he's just gonna try and like go down below decks and like blowing on the inside of the ship to try and like cool the bottom of it and the sides, just really keep it temperature controlled down there as much as possible.
Great. Do you wanna make some rolls to see how long you can keep that up?
Yeah.
And when do you start doing it? Explosions start around 11:30.
Yeah, probably as soon as like it's clear what the plan is that's going on here.
Okay.
So soon after the story begins, I've probably heard it before. So
great.
Yeah. And
Make
then yeah. Oh. 4. I get it for 40 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, 40 minutes of that.
I'm gonna make just 2 rolls. It could have been a lot more to see how things go.
Great.
Okay. You are all very lucky.
Oh my god.
You are very lucky. There were some rolls in there that if you had not set everything up just right would have been very bad. So over the course of the next 3 hours, as the stories continue going, the closest explosion at one point shatters part of the glass wall as it, and then there's a shattering and glass rains down on your deck. Slide through it all, you manage to keep telling your story and thus keep the glass worm entranced by it. At about 2:30, as things begin to slowly cool down and the explosions grow less frequent, they still occasionally boom beneath the sands nearby or around you. But by about 2:30, as your story finally concludes, the dragon is still here. It's been listening this entire time, and occasionally asking questions or pointing out details, or being engaged. You have this glass wall around you, partially shattered in places. There is glass and sand all over your deck. What do you do?
And that is why I always look for an opportunity to partner with a glass dragon on a great adventure.
I see you were wise to do so then. A good story, I think, if perhaps overwrought. Very well. I suppose for this I may be persuaded to leave you in peace, Captain Slide. I suppose I may be able to.
Then go.
Turns looks at you. I'm sorry, what did you say? And leans in close to you, the rock.
I still have that liquor bottle, right?
Yeah.
Liquor barrel. I'm gonna say glass breaks very easily when it comes to a series of explosions, don't you think? And I'll shake the liquor as I get close to it.
Oh, this is
Would
just
you
our war
threaten
buddy.
me,
This is-
mortal?
No.
This is
not
our
that
war
way.
buddy. Don't worry about him.
Eyes dart between Sandpiper and the rock.
You see the tattoo on my arm. And it says, what did it say? It says
The pillage and burn.
pillage then burn. I'll say and I
Just
look
says-
at the rest of the
just
dragon's
says-
tails and I'll
just
say
says, fuck dragon.
right. You have quite a bit to pillage from, yes? And I'll turn to I look towards the golding parts of the back.
Well-
You've had enough, don't you think?
Well, look at my tattoo. It's you see them?
It's sand.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because just like
Hmm.
you, the sand is my home.
Tell me this, why should I not eat the small one waving a blade and a bottle of liquor? Why not devour him where he stands, melt his bones to add to my body, and leave the rest of you in peace?
I mean, that's a choice.
It is indeed, Captain Slide.
You can certainly try.
I mean, we like him, and I don't see any reason why such a great afternoon spent together and the delight of the shade should end in such a scarlet-stained moment.
Didn't
Don't
you
worry,
like?
there would be no blood, but...
Listen,
Didn't you
let
like
me.
Captain Slide's story? Oh, you go ahead.
Just before everyone continues, I have an ability called non-plussed.
Mhm.
I've seen it before twice.
Mhm.
So whatever rolls you get on this, you have +4 bonus. I have a +4 bonus to saves. And
Great.
then even if I fail, everyone has a +2 to anything that they would like to do. I'm just putting it out there first. So I'm staring it down, unfazed for now.
Yeah.
Thu steps forward, like, let me hi, Miss Ursula here, Cantor. Very nice. I like the filigree. Yeah, that's good stuff. If I may apologize for my comrade here, maybe
May.
a token of, okay, well, I do. I apologize for my comrade here. If I may offer a token of penance, perhaps, in exchange for your moving on to create more glorious ley lines in the sand, as you do.
Hmm.
He reaches down and pops his peg leg off and like sort of lifts it up. It's not very it's not immodest. But it's got some gold leaf on it probably somewhere. It's mostly made of wood. He says, I doubt you could get any use out of this actually, but not having it is a great detriment to me. So for that reason, I would think that you might appreciate it.
Can you make me a charisma roll? With advantage.
With
With
plus
advantage.
two.
With advantage. With plus
And
two.
not plus
and
two.
advantage.
You get that
And you,
plus
can,
two.
and you can take advantage on it. You can take advantage on it because this is a significant sacrifice.
Great. So with the +2 and advantage?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sam. It's an 18.
That molten tongue emerges once more, and it snatches out of your hand. You can feel your skin sear. Pulls into its maw. A fitting sacrifice, I suppose. Something so powerful for you, now given to me in exchange for this one's continued existence. Turns and looks at you again, Darak. Very well. I suppose I shall leave you in peace for this time. Mark the
Thank
day
you.
when Taraxis spared you, both from sand and from sea and from Drake.
We will.
Marked. Noted.
Sands guide you. And then it turns and it dives back down to the sand with another blast of Vulcan.
Thus hops with surprising balance. Or to Tariq. It says,
So 2 things. 1, you owe me a new leg. 2,
You owe me your life.
the only reason I did that was to make sure that there wasn't any more explosions going off while you were getting, eaten and dissolved and whatnot. Yeah, that's just for the record.
I had that perfectly under control, but I guess I could say thank you. I
You
guess.
You're
scared
welcome.
me.
I guess I'll take a bit of the liquor. I'll drink some of it, and then I'll carry the barrel back down since we don't need it.
Okay.
I'll take another of the boards from where I was pulling up the boards earlier,
Mhm. Yeah.
and pull it up and go to Deuce and say it isn't much, but I can kind of and try to like size it correctly.
How long is
like,
this board? Just out of
breaking.
curiosity.
Unless I cover how much you rip up.
I mean, I try to approximate the same length as
Let's
the leg.
let's go ahead and veil this so that we don't get into
Yeah,
like
sure, yeah.
weird ableist moments also. Too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure.
So you with some retrofitting, you can get a sort of a something approximating, not nearly as nice as your one before, but something at least that you can stand on for the time being.
Right.
Foos. When you get to a city, you might want to get a more professionally one made, but for the time being, it will do.
Yeah.
Great. So at this point, you are still in the sand. The explosions are much less frequent and much more distant at this point. You're currently surrounded by a ring of pretty solid glass.
Is dragon glass worth anything?
I mean, if this dragon had sculpted it for you, but really, I mean, it's not that the dragon makes it, it's that it just radiates heat.
Oh yeah, I know. I just didn't know. I mean, he was like, I mean, he cared about the quality of glass, so I didn't know if like. So I guess is Vulcan glass worth?
Vulcan glass is hard to make because you
Okay.
tend to blow it up and make it. So yes, Vulcan glass is worth something.
Okay.
Yeah, it's worth something for sure.
Okay. So he had kind of heard a part of it. I feel like we have 2 options for clearing a path out, which is probably through whatever brokenish part there already was. And that's either going out and breaking it down more or controlled explosions.
I don't know about the controlled explosions part because the explosions are the thing we were trying to avoid. But I can just kind of go out and like, I got my little knife. I can kind of boom, 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 boom.
Against the giant wall of glass.
Wait, hold on. How big is the giant wall of glass?
So it's not that it's high out of the sand, right? It only rises a few inches, but I mean, it's easily 2 feet thick and goes down a significant distance into the sand.
Okay, that's pretty big. That's pretty
Yeah.
big. Okay, maybe my plan's not gonna work.
Can
I
I
think-
take the?
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you.
I was gonna say I was gonna take the iron ring sword, and I think Darak would just be as curious to see, could I cut this glass if I hit it hard enough? And I'm gonna try and
Yeah.
break.
If you hit it hard enough, you can. It'll probably start doing damage to your sword after not too long.
Okay,
But
so it wouldn't break. It wouldn't break it either.
Right. But we don't need to. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, it would break the glass eventually, right? I mean, imagine like hitting a big block of glass with a piece of metal, right? Like eventually it will start to break, but you might do damage to the metal in the process.
Got it. Okay.
I think the easy thing to do is to get some water and to probably just blow up small amounts of Vulcan sand nearer the glass is to break the glass.
Yeah, I think a skin thrown into the sand is probably not enough to start a chain reaction, right, Sam?
No, not usually.
And we probably wait until it is not quite so hot. Like, so we're gonna do this at like 5 p.m. We're gonna just kind of wait the day out, let it cool down, and then and then drop a skein over the front of the boat. Probably makes the most sense, even though it may not be the damaged section, to just blow it clear and be able to move forward.
Okay. What do you do for the rest of the day?
I mean, the threat of explosions is, although we're past the hottest part of the day, the threat of explosions is still ever present, I imagine, in our
They're
mind.
just like,
It's a
try
lot.
not to die.
I think most of it's like just slowly, like tilting the boat,
Yeah.
like staying underneath the shade, trying to stay as cool as we can while keeping an eye on everything.
Just 6 people devoting 100% effort to making these tiny, minute adjustments to this weird rig all day.
And I think that takes up, and then like as the temperature noticeably drops, we can start pulling down the boards, putting them back on the ship.
Yeah, you put them back as best you can. It's not super accurate, but you can still walk on the deck at least.
And then we'll drop a skein over the front to blow the glass apart.
Who is doing that? Who is chucking the water skin?
I mean, Durak really wanted to, so I feel like that's if they need to get some aggression out and blow some stuff up, I think that's.
I've been needing to fight something for a long time.
So you have this like 2 foot thick kind of like ring of glass along the surface. It's got some Vulcan sand that's blown onto it just from the wind at this point. Are you just hurling the water skin down there? Or are you going to try and like pour it over the side? Like, what is the?
I want to hurl it.
Okay, you just want to.
I just want to toss it out like a grenade.
Okay.
Bam.
You want to make me an attack roll?
Sure. Is this with strength or with dex?
Range weapons probably dex.
Dex. Okay. Not very good at these. 9.
Great. So as you lob it down, I mean, it does make contact with the sand, but rather than the outside of the ring where you're probably aiming, it hits the inside of the ring of sand instead. And thus, as the blast kicks open, the Vulcan sand bursts backwards, as does the glass, and you can hear like a sound and then slight crunching. The glass ring is partially broken, not all the way, and you can look in the front of your ship, and now there are many large glass spikes that have embedded themselves into the front of your ship. If you go down to the hold, you can see they jut through into the inside of the hold.
It's an aesthetic choice. So you're not very good at that, huh?
Well, I mean, we have defenses on the side.
Yeah, it's great. I feel like this is maybe this is a sandpiper task.
You got a task for me?
Yeah, you did so well last time. Do you think you might be able to blow some of the glass clear on the front of the ship?
Like throwing things?
Throwing it, going out and placing it, and then running away really quick. Whatever you want to do. I
can place something. I'm not great at throwing things.
Well, I can throw it.
No. You just do it. You're good.
I don't know. I mean, I can do it well.
You know what?
Sorry,
this is a captain's responsible for the ship. Hold on. I rolled a 17.
Okay, so you lob the water skin down. This one is much more accurate. The glass blows outward in the correct direction. You don't have a gap that is just barely big enough for your hull to fit through. It'll be a little bit dicey come morning to fit through there, but you should have a path out.
Cool.
Assuming more things don't go wrong tomorrow.
Assuming we don't roll a 99 or 100. Cool.
Great. Anything else you want to do with the rest of the day? As you get your mast back in order and you break you put your ports back and everything kind of returns something to normal.
Eat.
Great.
Another great story added to the legend of the captain.
Of course. Then can I get a weather roll and an encounter roll for tomorrow? This is your 4th day out on the sands.
I am happy to roll one of those.
I can roll the other. Do you want to do encounter? I'll do weather.
Sure.
31.
31. Okay, nice, much cooler day.
And am I rolling with advantage this time?
Yes, this is with advantage. You are still way out in the sands.
70.
70. Interesting. Okay. So it's a much cooler day. I mean, the high today barely breaks 100. Still no clouds, no sign of rain, obviously, but it's not completely scorching like it was, compared to what it has been in the past few days. It's much cooler. you very gingerly manage to get your ship out through the hole in the glass and continue heading roughly southwards, maybe south by southwest at this point. As I mentioned, you should be able to see the end of the Vulcan sand today, but this last one will still be in the Vulcan as you travel. As you sail, the first half of the day passes really without too much going on, but as you reach about 2, 3 in the afternoon, you can see up ahead of you. There's like a slightly larger, like small island outcropping, maybe a couple 100 feet across, and there is some kind of like plant or structure growing atop this island. They look from a distance like some kind of cacti.
Sandpiper, we got an island.
On it. Want me to check it out?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm gonna check it out.
Sandpiper, as you leap off and board over to this island, scrambling up the sides of it, and I can see Dom wincing. You can see at the top of this are several
That
very
wasn't me
large.
wincing. That was Thu's wincing.
You can see several large cacti growing here, maybe a half dozen of them or so. They're tall. They easily rise 10, 12 feet in the air with these wide spreading arms this way and that. The thing that catches your attention most, though, is that hanging from many of these branches are ancient, sort of weathered, almost desiccated skeletons. And scattered around the base of these cacti are bones, human and animal bones alike. You can also see up on the highest skeleton, up near the top of one of these cacti, it has like a backpack dangling from which you can see something inside still full in this backpack.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm separating from my player brain of something evil is here and my Sandpiper brain of cool backpack. So yeah, you said this is an island, right? So I could get off the board and get on it. Okay, cool. Being very careful not to disturb any of the bones, because the last thing he wants is another curse. He's gonna first check out just one of the cacti and break off a piece to see like. Okay.
So these cacti are covered in needles that are probably 6, 8 inches long, quite large.
Okay.
So you could try to get a chunk out of it if you want to. You could carve it with your knife. It would be a little bit of a delicate operation. You also can see, as you get closer now, I should have mentioned this originally, but many of these bones, both on the ground and in the cacti, but the skeletons have like cacti needles growing out of the bones.
Like the cactus is like consuming the bodies, or like they were killed by the cactus?
Like if you look at the one on the ground, maybe like a long femur or tibia, like a cactus arm, there are just like needles that have sprouted out of it.
Okay. He's gonna at this point be being very careful because there's a lot of dead people and things, and something killed them. And take one of the bottles that he's still got from Slide and try to throw it at the backpack. It's a suspended skeleton, right?
Yeah, it's about 10.
And try to throw it to try to get the thing in the backpack to come out, but stay kind of far away.
Or maybe a dexterity check for the attack roll.
0.
Great. Yeah, you lob it and it shatters, and you can see actually as you hit it, it only drove the backpack further onto the needles.
If it's about, just reminding you, you do have your board with you, and it is about 8 to 10 feet long.
Oh my God, it is.
Yeah, certainly try.
Thank you.
You can also call for help from the rest of the crew if you need more bodies.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my next move. In fact, I might as well, because that's what I was going to do. Go back and be like, there's a bunch of dead people, but there's also a backpack, and I'm going to try to get it with my board.
I can't. What? You're too far away.
Okay. First he's going back to the ship, and then saying, there's a bunch of dead people, and there's a backpack. I'm gonna try to get it with my board.
Is that a cactus?
Yeah, there's also a cactus.
Cactus have a lot of water in them.
The needles are really big, but I can try to. Do you want to help me get some water? You can get the water while I try to get the stuff in the backpack.
Cactus meat's also pretty good. Good eats.
Oh, delicious. Yeah, let's. This ring sword needs to hit something. I'm gonna go crazy.
I'll take care of
Okay.
the ship.
Yeah, I'll
Okay,
drop
yeah,
down.
come with me.
Yeah, Thusan Sandpiper a grappling hook also.
Ooh, okay. Thank you. This is useful.
Been hiding this the whole time.
Um,
What do you do?
Yes.
cool. So I'll go back. I assume we're all going now that the ship will be at the island.
ship
And
can
I'll
float,
try
yeah.
again with my board.
Oh no, I'm staying on the ship, but you have fun.
Oh, right. You're saying on
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
could bring NPCs too if you want to. You could bring Layla or Najin if you really needed more bodies. But so you're just gonna try and like hook it off your board. That's the plan.
Yeah, and then if that doesn't work, I'll use a grappling hook.
Great. Do you want to make me I guess it'd be a strength check probably.
Can I help or assist by
Sure.
cutting the cactus like
You
parts
want to
of
like
it?
chop it
it's-
down?
Like chop it down. Yeah.
So with advantage.
So hang on. I would call that like that's not. Those are two different attempts, right? Of like you could try to fish it off with the Doomer Force, or you could try to cut it down. But those are
Oh.
Because once you
wanted it to
cut
be a
it
little
down, it's
shorter,
on the
like
ground.
maybe
yeah.
tilt it like a little bit. Is that
Do
not
you want to
possible?
hack? You could hack away at the
hack
base
it.
of it.
Yeah, like hack away at the waist. Yeah, yeah.
So
Just to help.
This cactus is like pretty centrally located, so you have to walk out onto these like thorny bones, which you can do.
I have very fine boots.
Okay. Yeah. So as you crunch the bones, you're just gonna try and cut this cactus down, or at least get it to tilt.
To tilt a little bit, maybe to the side, so that.
Okay, I'll have you make me a strength or make me a dexterity check. It's not the strength here that matters.
Oh,
And then
no.
also, Sandpiper, you can make me a strength check to try to like boost your board out and hook it.
Okay.
Oh, we should do this the other way around. But okay.
Nope.
0.
0,
11.
11. Okay. So starting through Sandpiper, you managed to hook the backpack and scoot it out. You can see now it's really just like the hand that held it originally on the skeleton has been pulled off, and it's just the thorny bones that are holding the clasp of the backpack on still. So it's just this one arm that's still got it hooked. Darak, as you cut, you keep trying to hack at this and cut at it. You cut chopping, and then there's a slight sound. You can see one of these needles is detached and attached itself to your hand. It's painful.
Ow.
It's a sharp needle, yeah.
Toss
As you
it back.
tug, it doesn't come out.
I tug harder.
Make me a strength check.
There you go. See, this one I can do.
Do you need
Amazing.
some
15.
surgery?
15, great. As you start to pull, you can feel it pulling, and you can see now, like normally where your hands are sort of like a little bit blued, like where your veins are, it started to go a little bit gray, and you can see as you tug, it feels like you're pulling the skin, and possibly even the bones of like this, I guess this is the phalange, one of the phalanges here, is starting to come with it. Like you
Oh,
are beginning
whoa,
to
whoa,
pull
whoa.
your hand. Like this needle has embedded itself into you.
How in the world? Ow. Shit. I guess I should stop cutting.
We can have the ship's surgeon take a look at it later. Don't worry.
Yeah, okay. I'll.
Yeah,
Can I?
I can
just-
do that.
Did I get any cut on the side? Like, can I extract any water from this or anything from this
Yeah,
cactus?
you have to do a little bit. Like, yeah, you can see there's a little bit of kind of this like pinkish water dribbling out.
Okay, I'll take out one of my waters, my skins, and I'll.
Okay.
Like,
You want to
Yeah,
hold it in there amidst all the needles and bones?
I'll try. Yeah, just a little.
Maybe
sip.
another dexterity check.
Oh, another dexterity check. God, I'm so,
It's about
so
fine manual
clumsy.
manipulation. This is the definition of dexterity. Come on.
4.
Okay, yeah, you don't really manage to get any water, but you don't get pricked by the needles either, so you're doing all right.
This is the worst. I'm gonna walk back. But whatever's in that backpack was worth it. I got a nasty needle on my hand.
Yeah,
Well, about that,
yeah. Backpack is
Um,
still there.
I will now try, if it's okay that I'm making so many attempts, but I got the grappling hook.
Yeah,
still.
absolutely. Yeah.
So I'll now try with the grappling hook, but is that going to be dexterity again?
So you could probably just get the hook onto the thing. You could,
Oh,
I mean, you could probably just yank it down at this point if you want to.
oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll just take it down.
Yeah, you can just pull it. You don't even need to roll for that. Yes, you
Oh, cool. Oh,
heat
yeah,
it.
I'll just get it.
Great. And this goes clattering to the ground, the backpack. Looking inside, you can see a few things. One of them is you can see a bunch of cash. There's like a fair bit of like silver and copper and gold in here. And then you can also see there is like a large bound book, bound in leather. And then you can also see in here there is sort of like a wavy bladed dagger.
Man, I am getting so many daggers. All right. Is what he says out loud. And then takes a little look at the book, see what's in there.
It's written in a language called Proto-Semitic, so it is like the earlier predecessor to the language you all speak right now. flipping through the bits. I mean, it's like reading like Middle English, right? Like you can kind of tell what it's saying, but like not entirely. Flipping through it, it seems to be some kind of treatise on like anatomy and like human functions, and like there's some detailed medical diagrams inside. It like it's maybe like a medical textbook or something.
As the surgeon, I should probably know this.
Yeah, it's a medical textbook. It seems like, or something.
Cool. All right, nice. I will take it back up to the ship and share with everyone what I have found, and also specifically show the book to Deuce, because I'm like, you probably know words better than I do.
Right.
Is there anything special that I can glean from this? Is this some sort of occult text, actually?
Like a little bit.
Nice.
As you flip through it,
All
you can
science is
see-
occult. It's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, you know, alchemy and science. And, as you go through it, yeah, it's the medical textbook. It also has an odd amount of detail on the nutritional value of humans. Like, if you need to eat somebody, this is the parts you should eat and how to safely do it.
That's good ship
Cool.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Might be.
I can tell you a story or two about where that would have been handy knowledge to have, but we don't have time for that right now.
Have you eaten someone, Captain?
I just said we don't have time for that right now.
And
Oh,
hopefully they never
sorry.
do.
Surgeon, can you take a look at this needle that's kind of
Yeah.
stuck in my hand?
Yeah, sure. That's my job. Are there any bones involved?
Maybe. It should. I dangle it about. Do I feel my like my?
Yeah, you can feel you can feel like that,
eyeball.
like that pinky joint is starting to get a little like stiff. Like your knuckle.
Yeah. A little bit of bone.
Okay, I'm gonna do my best,
Great.
and I'll go over.
What do you do?
Okay, I'm gonna see. So how big is the needle?
Sticking out about 5-6 inches.
The thick boy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can try to like use my yeah, I'll use the dagger that I got before. I was like, should I use the fancy new one? And then I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that.
Okay.
And try to just kind of pick it out, like using tweezers to get out a splinter.
Ah.
Great. Make me a. I guess this would be dexterity or intelligence, either one.
They're both very bad.
Chat
You're the
is
surgeon.
definitely pro amputation. I just want you to know.
But it's
that.
really what you want from your surgeon is to not be dexterous and not be smart. But damn, can I surf?
Yeah.
4.
Great. Yeah, I'm gonna have you mark off a couple of hit points of damage that are as you dig in here. You can see as this like, you know, not to get too gory, but you can see basically that the needle has started to expand and grow into the bone. Like it is like embedded itself in the bone of your like, you know, this phalange, and now is like expanding through it.
What?
If you
What
need a
did you do?
I didn't do that.
You grew it?
No, I didn't grow. I don't know how to grow cactus. But if you need a replacement bone, I do have one.
It's a rib.
That I guess
It's not-
incredibly upset that you
It's
said
not the
that.
right bone.
Since there's some level of interplay, like watching this interplay, you're like, oh well, I've seen this a few times before. How far is this spread?
Right now it seems to only, as far as you can tell, be affecting just the knuckle on one hand. So like it's, you know, I mean, you got right, it's phalanges and your metacarpals, right? Those are the two bones. So it's affecting the phalange here that makes up the bone of your hand. And currently it's just that one. So this bone that runs right here, that's one seems like it's most affected.
Yeah.
So it makes your wrist a little bit sore and this one a little bit stiff.
Sure. We're gonna go ahead and like feeling along it with like that like the surgeon's knife. I'm like yeah, and then I just like take my hand and I like pop it at the base of the phalange to like pop that bone out and off.
Okay.
Ah,
Do you want to make me a
What?
dexterity check to see how well you can nail that stab cut maneuver?
Sure.
Great.
That is a 22.
Woo, easy. Okay,
Easy,
one
easy.
swift slicing motion, and Darak, your pinky and the phalange goes scattering across the deck. I'm gonna be marked down a couple more hit points of damage.
Yeah, I had 5. What do you want me to
Okay,
be at
so
now?
you might pass out. You're not in any danger of dying. They can bind it up; it'll be fine. But you
Right.
might pass out from pain and shock.
Yeah, I think I'd freak out a little bit, like take a couple steps, and then
Yeah.
like maybe faint.
It's what happens every time.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say while you're passed out, I'm just gonna kind of take, like, if we have some kind of like bandages or like surgical stuff, I'll take it and bandage it and just kind of like bandage the rib in the pinky's place.
Oh.
Just to be like, oh, better.
And you like slide a glove over it, so when they wake up, it just looks like there's
Yeah,
a
it's
bone
like, yeah,
sticking
just
out
a
of that spot.
normal hand.
Great.
Except this finger
It's really curved and large.
is really curved and weird.
Great. Yeah, if you take a second to kind of like, get the blood off, you can also see on the like inside of that metacarpal, like little skewering needles have started to emerge out of it.
We should either put this thing in a glass bottle or get it off the boat. One of the two. One of the two. Those are the two options.
I got a bottle.
Do we think we need to throw this at something later to start making it turn into spikes, or do we think it's better to just not have it on the boat?
I like to save things to throw at people later.
Always better to be able to throw it at people later than to wish you had it to throw at people later. So we'll put it in like a jar.
Okay. So you pop it in a glass bottle and cork that up.
Yeah.
Great.
Cut my finger and put it in a jar. Slowly.
Yeah. Yeah, you come to, I don't know, a few minutes later, Darak, and you can see now you have this like odd thing strapped to the side of your hand.
Can I take it off?
Yeah, just try it out.
What? What is my? What do I still feel the odd side of the pain of obviously losing a finger? Does it still like? Is there a needle?
No, the needle's gone.
The hand
It's
feels
just
fine.
gone. Yeah, I mean you're down to 3 fingers, right? And 3/4 of the palm of your hand, but you seem pretty much fine
This
otherwise.
was my swinging hand too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now when you try to do that cool backward rotation thing, you won't have this finger in the way.
I mean, who really uses the pinky anyway?
Oh, I think Darak is upset. I
You
think
think?
we'll lay down for a couple.
Okay.
Couple minutes.
Great. Yeah. She keeps sailing on the nice cool day, leaving behind the money. You found it's a big payday. You found 70 even skins in that backpack.
Wow.
Mostly in silver.
We'll put it in the hold for safekeeping.
Great.
Here's the money, Captain. You take it.
It's what I do.
So you keep sailing as dusk approaches. Right as the evening settles in, you manage to edge out from the Vulcan sand back into the salt, where once you had a spicy, fiery, sulfury scent, now the salt returns, pale, translucent sand rather than deep red. You've made it out of the Vulcan sand.
Hey.
I knew we could do it. I never doubted for a moment.
Tony, how much longer are we planning on going? This is like not the worst stopping place.
No, it's a good stopping place. I think that feels like a good accomplishment.
Okay.
3 hours is like good sweet spot for a play.
Yeah.
Do we want to do like a port epilogue?
Yeah, so it'd probably take you another few days of sailing. But making it to Casa Noble, you would of course then have to deal with the question of smuggling in liquor. It would be illegal in this port to bring it in, and so you have to figure out a way to either hide those barrels or pretend there was something else, bribe your way past, assassinate a customs agent, the usual. But then make a huge fat stacks on illegal liquor sales.
Yeah, I just when the customs guy is catching, I just tell him a story for like 4 hours while the guys are unloading, and then like have moved off, and I'm like,
You went off, stole the liquor, filled those with water.
and I go like, yeah, thanks for checking us in.
Perfect. Great. Well, I guess thank you all for playing, both to my loyal team members, and of course Tony, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Alex, thanks for joining us. SeasofSand, Tony, here I can do your spiel now. SeasofSand is on Kickstarter at ttrpg.link/SeasofSandks. You can back it. There's 4 different tiers: PDFs, hardcovers, maps that we're using here is one of them, and of course the worm, praise be. And it'll be on Kickstarter for another few weeks. We would love you to come by. I am Sam on Twitter at Head of the Goat. You can all plug your socials now. Do it.
Well, we have another thing that we do also too. Do you want to?
Oh, do we? Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
we have a thing we do.
I'm
No,
just
you did a
thinking
really
we're
good
trying
job.
to-
You were doing
But
great.
wait, there's There's more.
We do a thing called Reaction Roll. Reaction Roll is a live stream within a live stream. It's where we sit down with the creator or the creative team of a game that we just played, talk a little bit about what that game is, what our experience was like playing it, and ask some any questions that we have. Today we were playing Seas of the Sand, which, as Sam just noted, is live on Kickstarter right now. Go to ttrpg.link/SeasofSand to check that out if you're watching later on YouTube or on Facebook. Those links are in the description. Otherwise, I'll drop them in the link here on Twitch down below. It has been an absolute blast playing. But yeah, Sam was just saying you've got a couple more weeks left on Kickstarter. I had an absolute blast playing. But let's hear from some of the other folks. Now, obviously, two of us, this was our first time playing. Two of you have been playing for a while, so we're gonna shift things around a little bit. But also, if you are watching in the chat right now and you have a question about the game we just played, please drop that in so that we can ask the creators anything that you maybe saw us do, have more questions about. But it's an OSR toolkit. So we're really talking about the settings, some of the procedures, all these other pieces, as well as the world that's being created in it. But with that said, let's start with Alex. Alex, tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online, but what it was like to play in the Seas of Sand.
Sure. Who I am and what I do. I am Alex Kingsley. I do comedy and writing and games and podcasts. I'm at AlexyQuest everywhere, and I work with Strong Branch Productions. And what I thought of this game, it was so much fun. I really love the setting. I never played anything like this before, like anything like the setting. It reminded me a lot of Dune. I feel like that's obvious. I assume that was an inspiration.
Yeah,
here.
absolutely.
Just also specifically in that, like, so much of that's one of those books where you pick it up and you're like, okay, just like sci-fi, and then so much of it is just like, how do we survive this particular terrain? And I thought it was very interesting that the thing that was like, oh, this is gonna kill us, was not the like big scary monster. Though there was a time that the big scary monster was maybe gonna kill us, but we were like, no, it's the weather. The weather's gonna kill. And I thought that was very, because it always feels like, you know, there's some kind of way you can fight the monster, you can do the thing, you can kill someone, but when it's like, okay, we're up against the elements, it's like, oh shit, like I don't know how we're gonna do this. And that was a delightful, like, we may just die. That was really, really cool. But I also really like this sense of, you know, as much as I enjoy playing a game where there's like a module or the adventures played out in advance, the fact that there were so many tables here and that it was like no one knows what's going to happen, there was this very exciting sense of randomness and uncertainty. And this is probably just because we were playing, like, you guys were all just so much fun to play with, but it just felt like in this particular game, all of the pieces and all the story came together really well in a very satisfying way. Like I would play a whole campaign with this group of characters in this world, in this game. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed it.
I'm glad our character was able to narratively carry Sandpiper, who didn't bring a lot narratively.
Yeah, you know, Sandpiper just not there.
Chat wasn't in love with Sandpiper from the beginning. You know, we kept you around just because.
Chat said, get rid of Sandpiper. Don't like it.
So, did you have any questions for Sam? Or actually, and this is a good time to mention, like, Walid and Dom are part of the development team for the game. So if you have questions generally, go ahead and ask them.
One of my questions got Sammy sort of answered by a nod, and that was Dune your inspiration for this game, or were there others?
Yeah, there were definitely others. Dune is obviously a huge influence, although I actually started this before I read Dune.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, not everybody else read Dune when they were 12 years old and fell in love and are a total nerd about it? Or that's fine.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. In terms of like desert vibes, obviously, you know, sort of like classic medieval Middle Eastern mythology. 1001 Nights, obviously, but also Tales of the Marvelous and News of the Strange, which is another collection of myths that I read recently. A few, you know, snatches, like the idea of a sugar sand comes out of a children's fantasy book that I read as a kid called 13 and a Half Lives of Captain Blue Bear. Obviously, like, have you read that? Have you heard of that? No one's ever heard of that.
No, I actually haven't read it,
Okay.
but I have a copy in
Wow. It's fantastic.
my parents' house waiting for me
Wow.
because I've been trying to read it forever.
It's really good. And there's a whole section in this one desert, and it's sugar sand, and many ideas come out of that. I mean, obviously, like classic pirate fiction and TV shows and stuff. Treasure Island, Pirates of the Caribbean, Black Sails, all those have been big influences. And some of the more like harsh survival stories. There's this show, The Terror, about a crew of sailors in the 1800s surviving in the Arctic shelf, and they just like it's terrible, everything goes wrong for them. And so, kind of the idea of like looking at like ancient or more contemporary like exploration efforts and seeing like what is it like to survive in incredibly harsh conditions, and like what does that do, what does that entail. Like we skimmed over this, but oftentimes in our sessions, both Dom and Walid can attest to this, like half of a session would be planning a mission, right? Of like, okay, we need this much water, we need this many supplies, we need to have this many crew, we need this many people, this is our route, this is the plan, and so on, trying to account for things that go wrong just to ensure that you can survive. And like looking at kind of like survivalist adventurers was a huge inspiration for this project.
Yeah, awesome, love it. Any other questions, Alex?
I have one other question, and maybe I'll come up with more later. I don't know much about science, but I got the sense that there was at least some like actual basis in like material sciences with like the behavior of the sand. And I was wondering, like, did you do sand research? Like, how much of that with also like the biological, like the life in the sand? What kind of research did you do?
So one of our good friends, a longtime play tester, a friend of mine and Dom's, is a chemical engineer. So he has provided lots of feedback about how the chemistry should function, much of which is ignored. My sister she actually just got her PhD in nuclear engineering and material science. So she knows a ton about like how like her project involved molten salts and like the idea of using those as like a cooling agent. So like that was very helpful. And then one of my best friends is a marine biologist, and so I asked him many questions about like how would a fake desert marine biology environment look like. So the science in here is obviously not real, but it does pass like a baseline muster of like what you would expect it to do, which was at least somewhat important to me. Like I said, I ignore lots of the actual science of like sand should behave this way, and like the way that like it flows as liquid and then doesn't make any sense, but it's very cool. And so some of it gets ignored in favor of being like, this is really cool and kind of makes sense on like an Aristotelian, and like an Aristotelian like baseline logic level of like a 10-year-old would guess that how this works, and like that's a good level of logic for a D&D game to operate on.
At no point is the internal logic of the game conflicting with itself, and that's oftentimes the most important thing. Love it. So let's hear a little bit from some of the regular players of this game and the development team. So Walid, tell people a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then what your role is in Seas of Sand.
Sure. My name is Walid Roda. I'm a game designer and a grad student. I make video games. I play video games, and obviously also tabletop role-playing games. For Seas of Sand, I was a cultural consultant and sensitivity editor for some of the like places and locations, names of the places and things that you kind of end up visiting. A lot of them are taken or inspired by Arabic, names and places, and even kind of like a little bit of mythology there too. And so I help out on that end.
Awesome. There's a question specifically for you. Doc Mock wants to know how much of your work comes from your own thought process and how much is influenced by your environment.
So I grew up in Lebanon. I grew up in the Middle East. When I was back home, obviously, a lot of the inspiration comes from just my level of the language. I speak it. I grew up with it. I didn't do as I studied a little bit of the actual I studied a little bit of Arabic, in more of the theory of it. But I grew up in mostly in Arabic countries, so a lot of it obviously is from my environment, my background. I don't know to what extent, probably all of it, really.
Willie, what about Williamsburg? How much of an influence is that?
I don't know about
how much of an influence is Williamsburg?
That's a bit of a tough one there.
That was my first
Colonial
interpretation of the question, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Colonial Williamsburg is the big influence there. Like that's the
absolutely. Big New York vibes.
No, I love it. Eldritch Mouse wants me to correct this question on the fly, so hopefully I don't, but I think it's a good pickup there to what you just said about how you helped put out some of the locations, places, names, mythology. For anyone, how much are the places and cities detailed in the book? Like how much do we get about each location or certain locations in the book?
I can answer that as the one writing them. So Seas is a toolbox, which means that basically for every city, rather than say like here are the cities that exist, instead there are myriad tables and procedures for constructing them. So for each city, you would roll up like what its major trade exports and imports are, what its system of government is, what its mythology is and its history, what are some landmarks, what are some things it's interested in, what does the criminal underworld look like, what's its market, what's some local foods. So like it means that while we have this map here of the Barrier Archipelago, this is not the only version of seas. And Unkadad and Kasernabal and Birsad and all the other cities those are names that will go into the actual tables. So you could roll up your own version of Unkadad if you want to, but it will be different. It's based on generation and your own decisions as GM and how it all fits together. So there are many, many tables that I'm in the midst of working on with my editor Matt and with Walid and others about making them feel like real, vibrant places that no matter which combination you get will be somewhat plausible, somewhat real, somewhat interesting.
So every instance of the Seas of Sands completely shifts. So whatever you're playing at your table is not the same as anyone else's table.
I mean, obviously, if you use Jason's map, then you can use the Barrier Archipelago, right? And we have these names included, but you could totally change them if you wanted to.
Right.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's all built to be modified and adjusted however you need.
I love that.
And if I could jump in here real quick
yeah.
to say something on that, the cool thing about all of the place generation and market generation that's happening is that all of that cascades through every system in the game in a really, really interesting way. Like just the geography of the sands. I don't know how many people checked out the map, but if you haven't, you should.
I'll put it back up on the screen while you're talking.
Yeah, the map itself is like the main driver of what you're doing in the game, like trade routes going around certain patches of sand, or like we decided to go through undoubtedly the most dangerous sand you could go through, debatably, and of course like markets determine how far you're going, where you're going, what obstacles in the terms of the environment you're encountering along the way. I think it's really elegant. I applaud Sam once again on pulling that off.
And Dom, for you, tell people who you are and then what you do, what your project, what your contribution to the game is.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Dom Leotti. I am the artist for some of the key art for the game. So the cover and the thumbnail that you see on Kickstarter and the worm poster are my doing. And of course, I've been a long time playtester also. But yeah, and I do digital games as a day job and tabletop games as every other time job.
Excellent. We've got some more questions from the chat. If y'all have, even if you've already asked a couple, if you have more, keep them coming. Even if it's a follow-up to one that's already been asked. Enchanting Hunter says, love the different kinds of sand. It's such a cool idea to vary the environment. The glass dragon was terrifying. What other creatures can we encounter? Maybe we could hear one of your favorites from each of the longtime playtesters or from Sam.
Yeah, you two go first so I don't step on your toes.
My absolute favorite is, of course, the Pyramind.
And what is the Pyramind?
The Pyramind is an inverted pyramid with a giant eye on it, which hovers far above the ground. And the one that we encountered in our game was intent on killing God. And
I mean, who isn't?
Right. Yeah. This thing might be able to do it though. Yeah. It asked us. I think we gave it some like good information on like how it could be possible to kill God or something. And in exchange, we got like if we wanted anyone dead, we could tell it, and it would just take care of it. And just on a whim, we were like, just kill the leader of one of the large cities that are in our map, and it was like, it is done. And we said, cool, yeah, right. And then when next time we got into a port, they were like, yeah, his head just like exploded. It's the craziest thing. So yeah, I think there's if I'm not mistaken, there's like a Pyramind table of like things that Pyramind wants to do, and they're all just totally insane. They're great though. That's my favorite.
Well, do you have a favorite?
I definitely have one. There's I forget the specific name of this creature, but it is a being of like a kind of a soft shell crab, where the like shell of it or the husk of it looks like a boat, and so it camouflages under the sand and will hide as a boat. And as you approach it, it all looks like kind of like an abandoned place with like a ghost ship almost. And then as it lures in its victims, victims being the players, as my group found out. You approach the sand, or you approach the boat, you enter it, and it begins to move and shake and chase you down. It's incredibly freaky. I think it's a fun combination of two things. Simple in design, but works very effectively, especially when like you never really know what's gonna come up out of these sand. Like sometimes you have a regular old cactus, and then sometimes you have like these crazy ships that are half crab and want to eat you. So.
My favorite creature, of course, is the worm. The worm, praise be. But my second favorite child might be, I don't know. I mean, I wrote these monsters. Again, it is choosing my second favorite child, but
The worm that we met, or a different worm?
no, that is a worm with a Y. There is one singular worm with an O that is the worm that shall consume the world.
Oh, okay.
That's the one that on Dom's poster that looks so good.
The worm.
That worm.
Yeah,
Okay.
The worm. Yes, written in all caps in bold.
I see.
One
that says save versus apocalypse or die.
Yeah. Trying to think. One of my favorites is a variety of camel called an apotropaic camel, which is a camel that has been imbued with sort of a spark of divinity. So it's like meeting a sort of a lesser deity or an incarnation of God, walking in a wild herd of camels. Its milk is curative. It can cure diseases and illnesses and things. And then, of course, if you hurt or harm or kill the camel or drink its blood or anything, you suffer horrific wild curses that will, keep you down forever. But there was one time where like they just saw a wild herd of camels walking on top of silk sand, which normally they would sink through. And it was this sort of like semi-miraculous occasion to meet this camel that was imbued with divinity just out in the sands as something random to encounter.
That's the encounter where we send Sandpiper out and they come back and they're like wiping blood off their lips and they're like, I don't know, but I just drank blood out of a camel and it was weird.
Shoe number 3 on the way.
That's good luck, right? It's a camel.
Maybe.
I don't remember how it happened, but it seemed like the thing to do at the time. No, I love it. So in a similar vein, Eldritch Mouse, Ty wants to know, what's the coolest thing you think you've created for this setting? And that was kind of in regards to the cube. So as far as other encounters go,
other phenomena.
Yeah.
Teammates might feel free to jump in for a strange one that you've seen. I mean, one of the ones that I've been working on for a long time is the Mirage tables. Mirages have sort of like an interesting importance to them of like, and I haven't deployed these much in my playtest because I've never been sure about them, but the notion of a mirage that is not just, an apparition or a view, but actually reveals something about either you or the desert, of like the mirage as the idea of a vision. And then, of course, there are like mirage people, and there's this sort of like notion of like, if you see a mirage and that is a view to another place or realm or sort of existence, what does the mirage see of you? Are you looking into a mirror? Are you looking into another place? Are you just looking at something that is totally false? And kind of the idea of like, there's an idea in Arthurian myth of like the Fata Morgana, like she's this enchantress who creates illusions, but the illusions are maybe more real than reality. And this idea of like out in the desert, in the seas, and in the sands, you might see a mirage that is revealing of a reality that makes more sense or provides some hidden new meaning to you that you didn't have previously. That's kind of a long-winded answer. There are cool mirages. There's a giant table of what you might see and what it might be.
Love it. Dom or Walid, do you have either of you?
Yeah, for me, some of the coolest like things that you encounter in the sands are not like individual things you roll on the encounter table necessarily, but like the specific interactions that you get between like cross-system interactions. The weather and encounter rolls are kind of one sort of system, but like you saw in our play in the play that we just had, the interaction between the sand that we were on and the weather that we happened to roll while we were on it gave way to like way more game than you might expect. Like, and that's something like that wasn't a fluke. That happens constantly in sands. I think that's the thing that I most enjoy about it, I think.
And even to add on to the idea of like finding more game within game, one of our earliest playtests, like we ran a relatively, we were gonna do some illegal smuggling, but we weren't like even in like piracy or going into like the murderous elements of it. But there are sections of the map that are currently hidden from regular merchants and captains that go through it. But there are sections that are pirate havens, and there is different pirate lores and tables that you can roll on for different kinds of piracy, and like which ones have been ruling the sands for a long time, and it adds this kind of layer of depth to this like ever-changing kind of seas elements, especially when you're like kind of just driving around and you meet up with a pirate who knows about a city that like a secret pirate haven that exists outside of a major city. This whole other map opens up of different places that you can explore and adds a whole spin to it. Like instead of it, you know, going about being an honest trade merchant, now you're smuggling in all this bunch of different stuff and different ports and different havens when you meet different people. I think adds like a whole other layer to the game that's always super fun. And it was a real shocker the first time we like expected it.
Yeah, because we went deep desert, so we're getting all these random, wild, crazy encounters with animals and other things like that. But if we had taken the trade routes, it would have been far more humans, people, other ships, and pieces like that we're not encountering as we go out. Which is very interesting to have like two different, like just that simple choice, basically being like, what are the types of things we're going to encounter this adventure? It creates a very interesting reality. If anybody else has any more questions, please go ahead and drop them in. Would love to ask them. But I had an absolute blast playing. Like I'm thrilled. I said this in our interview the other day. My favorite OSR supplement currently is like that I've purchased and supported and have been a fan of for a long time is Into the Weird and Wild, which it takes basically all the different pieces when you go between cities out in the woods and out in the forest and kind of creates this sense of wonder and awe and fear and plays on all those. And I feel Seas of Sand in its own unique way, but in some very similar pieces, brings in procedures and other elements that do the exact same thing for a desolate setting. I love the philosophical elements. I love the weirdness of that. I also just love that like it could have just been like, oh, here are your desert caravans, but you made a choice at some point to be like, no, you sail across these things in ships. And so I want to ask a very basic question: is at what point were you like, this is a sail game and not a caravan game?
I'm trying to think. I was looking at my original Google Doc the other day after talking to you, and I the very first edits was from December 2019 is when I first started like the very beginnings of like starting on this. So, you know, a year and a half ago at this point. And I think it's the 5th line says what if you sailed ships across it ? So, you know, like I always planned to be like a traveling setting of like you go through this place from location to location. But the idea of ships has been baked in almost from the beginning of, and certainly in any of the playtests that you know my friends have played in, there have been boats. Just because I think the image of having a home base that travels with you is so powerful and interesting.
Well, yeah, it brings up something that you can add extra threat to. That's not just the individuals.
Exactly,
it brings up something you can be working on upgrading or enhancing or trading out or looking. And there's a lot of great things that come with that, and it's really cool to see. And I do, again, like I said, the thing we didn't get into as much other than whether an encounter are the number of procedures that are in it. Can you tell people a little bit about some of the procedures? Like Dom, you mentioned merchant roles, but I know there's a few others. What are some of the types of procedures? Because the great thing about procedures for anybody watching is the ability to pick them up and say, I just want to add this to my game because we find ourselves in that moment a lot. And I want something that helps generate a better process for that. So tell us about some of the procedures you've included.
I can start it, I guess. One of the ones that I was just updating last night for another playtest was the idea of crew recruitment. So when you recruit new crew members, you say like, oh, okay, we need a surgeon and we're in this port. And then you get a dice pool and then you take the results from that. And then most of the results involve them rolling on 2 tables of crew quirks and crew perks. And so if you get a surgeon and be like, oh, this surgeon also then has like a proper education, or this surgeon is really good at climbing, or this surgeon, you know, happens to be an expert knot tire. But then their quirk is like, oh, this surgeon also happens to be an arsonist, or also is cursed, or also like has a tattoo kit and has no idea how to use it, but is very enthusiastic about it. And so it means that you get these sort of like, from just a couple of hooks of new crew members you bring on, and then that spawns future trouble. In one of our games recently, there was a crew member had a quirk that was like, they're like, they can't keep a secret. They spill their guts to anybody they talk to. And so then that happened and they were like talking in a bar, and then some of the results happened where then like they caught wind that you might have been smuggling salt into a city, and so then their ship got detained for 6 days.
Which
they were smuggling salt. And so because this crew member had kind of this random perk, it led to this chain reaction where then their ship got held and there was further drama of like, then they were stuck in the city and they were wanted smugglers, and it became a big problem from there, just by dint of like getting a D20 roll that said, oh yeah, this one can't keep a secret, right?
Yeah. But again, I want to encourage people, if you haven't checked it out yet, go to ttrpg.link /SeasofSandks. Alex, point right down below you. right there on the screen. Anybody who needs it, also in the description if you're watching later on as well. I had an absolute blast playing with you. Was so glad we were able to make this work. It was it all happened over the course of the last couple days, but it was also really nice to be able to sit down with some of the dev team and have y'all play with us also. Alex, always a blast to have you with us. Just a reminder, we like to provide as much as we possibly can for free as far as support goes to small first-time or indie creators. We want to help support the channel, help us pay our editors, our graphic designers consistently and better, because currently they get paid, but it all comes out of pocket, and we'd like to, our big shift over this month and next month are to try to move the channel to sustainability. Go to kofi.com/plus1exp. The link's on the screen. Right now, if you're on Twitch, it's in the links down below. Also, too, you can check that out as well. Any contribution is great. If it's $1 a month, and then starting next month, when we have levels that we're going to be able to introduce, we're going to be giving away a lot of games that we play on channel that we've played in the past, and some drawings and other stuff like that. So there's some other benefits, like getting our games for free when we release them, which we just released one called iToaster through Exalted Funeral. So if you're a monthly backer, you'll get that for free. It's a great way to do that. Also coming up next Friday, July 23rd at 10 a.m. Eastern, we are playing a Merkborg adventure about saving dogs. The Duke's dog Death, the Duke of Galgenbeck's dog, has been stolen, and we have to go save them from a horrible kennel. So the world is ending, but the doggos need saving. This is from an amazing Polish creator, Stein, but we have Sean F. Smith, who is our house Merkborg GM, who's going to be running that for us. That's next Friday, the 23rd at 10 a.m. Come back and join us. We'll have some other content coming up next week. But until next time, I still never figured out a good way for us to close our streams. And at this point, I refuse to. So we're just going to wave at the camera until I take us off air. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much for playing with us.